government, not a private company or person. So we have to take into context. At that time, a government that had a lot of national, international leverage. So like I said before, you give the parties an ear, and then you make the decision that you think is best. So we didn't foresee that it was going to be an issue to get this, this lease, which would have been used to cover other expenses, security expenses, you know, the dormant companies, we were paying cleaning crews, cash power. So it would have been useful, but we didn't anticipate that 1.5 million was going to be a headache or a delay. You know, and you're dealing with a government, so you give them some amount of what we call goodwill. Okay,
but it ended up being a delay.
Well, at the time we were handing over, I don't recall it being paid.
Exactly. So it was never paid until handing over point.
Yes.
Were there follow-ups made for this payment?
Yes, follow-ups, meetings. Okay. You know, we had a few meetings with the Ministry of Justice. It was brought up. We were given assurance, but it was never paid.
What about the commission? Were they also informed about the lack of payment?
Yes, they were aware.
Okay.
They were aware. But I think at that point the focus was on the TRRC and renovations. But I think if you sign a contract, you have to oblige, you have to pay still. But I don't think it was a priority for the former AG. But we did pursue it.
All right. So now let's get into the activities surrounding twins. You handed over in August, whilst renovations were already ongoing. Had renovations commenced at dunes by that point?
I can't recall the timelines.
Okay.
But I know at some point renovation started, it was financed by the former AG.
All right.
Whilst we were in discussions and negotiating.
So at the point of sale,
yes,
because eventually AP advertised sale of the full in pursuant to an order of the commission.
Yes, the furniture.
Yes, the furniture.
Yes.
At the point of sale, was the furniture still within the rooms of the hotel, or had the furniture been removed from the rooms of the hotel?
No, when we came back in, I believe, October, we found the furniture was moved to 2 containers in front of the resort because it was under renovation. So most of it was in these two shipping containers.
At this point in October 2018, where was AP informed that the furniture would be moved into these containers?
No, we were not. It's after we got the order. You know, by the time we had handed over the resort.
Yes.
So after we got the order and we went to the resort to do the inventory and valuation process, that's when we found out that it was moved to the front of the resort.
Okay.
So it was stored in two shipping containers.
All right. So at the point of handing over, were you expecting that the TRRC will make use of the furniture, or that the AG would take care of the furniture?
At the point of handing over, there was no mention of the use of the furniture. But it was part of the handover and it was under their custody.
Okay, so everything was just handed over?
Handed over, yes.
All right. So subsequently, the commission made an order for AP to sell the furniture.
Yes.
After that, what steps did AP take to ensure that the commission's order was executed very well?
The commission gave us 14 days. It wasn't enough.
How many days?
14.
Okay.
To effect the public auction. So we hired another firm, EN Mechanical Services, to do the valuation. And then after we did advertisements in the newspapers twice before the auction. And then the public auction took place. And then we were targeting to exceed the valuation benchmark, which we did. So that was the objective at that time.
EN Mech Services,
yes,
were the valuers?
Yes.
All right. So were they hired through advertisements, or were these just valuers that AP knew and just decided to appoint?
Well, these are valuation firms we worked with before. You know, as a receiver, you're not bounded by the GDP Act, you know, in terms of hiring.
Yes.
You're a private entity. But you can bring in people you trust and count on and know will do the job properly. So, for example, land valuations, there are two firms that we usually use, Spinks and Francis Jones. And for other valuations, we were using at the time Ian Mech Services. Because we have used his services before. He's an elder, he's been in the industry for a long time. I believe he has a background in engineering and valuation, so he was a credible and competent person to effect the valuation.
You had mentioned that the 14 days were not enough. Why weren't they enough?
Yeah, because at that time we were overseeing 20 companies, not to mention our other clients, so it was not a reasonable time. I think 30 days would have been more reasonable.
How many days?
30 would have been more reasonable, because you have to do valuation, advertisement, auction, and reporting. There are different phases you have to cover. So I don't know why the commission chose 14 days, but at that time, you know, there was a lot of field work as well. It didn't reconcile to our schedule, but we still managed. We couldn't complete it in 14 days, which we informed the commission, but within a short period, we were able to complete the auctioning process.
All right, but did you inform the commission before starting the whole process, evaluation, sales, reporting, that the 14 days wouldn't be enough? Or did you just wait for the 14 days to elapse and then inform the commission?
With the commission, we were also having meetings and briefings with them. So we were always updating them, and sometimes if they need information, they'll contact us. We'll go to the hotel and brief or give information they need. So yes. And it was also mentioned in our final report in terms of the auctioning process.
All right. Can you just give a brief overview of what, because we're mentioning furniture, what type of furniture exactly it is that was available was at Dunes and eventually sold?
You know, it was a hotel.
Yes.
So mostly bedroom furniture. There were a few fridges, few televisions, but not flat screen, the old tube ones, small ones, telephone handsets, paintings, some light fixtures. But what's important at that time, you take into account, we didn't find the hotel secure. So you see in the photographs, you go to a room, the television is not there. So, but it was basically, the description was furniture and furnishings.
All right, so you're saying the hotel was not secure and you go to a room and something would be missing?
The time we took over.
Yes, at the time you took over. Apart from, you said you only met Mr. Jammeh.
Yes.
So there was nobody else to ask about the hotel and the assets that were in it?
He informed us that there were two guards, but the other guard, he wasn't present from what I recall.
Okay.
So he was the main contact person that we had information on, and we inquired about, hotels will have generators. There was no generator, but he did mention that it was being used by the NIA.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe we assumed it was some sort of an officer's mess. We didn't see any signs of torture, but the rooms were not clean, they were in bad shape. Some doors had no locks. So, I don't think he maintained a log to keep track of who's coming in and out at that time.
Okay. But did AP ever try to reach out to the NIA with regards to Dunes?
No, we did not.
Okay.
But we did communicate to the AG and Commission on the status.
Okay.
But I believe they have more information than us, so they will give us on a need-to-know basis.
All right, very well. Secretariat, can you give the witness a copy of his first submission? It's dated 9th July 2025. Honorable Chair, I believe the committee has a copy of this. It's part of the documents submitted by the witness. Those bindings. But I believe the document I'm going to direct the witness to, he has submitted multiple times, so if you don't find it in the binding of 9th July, you should find it in the documents given to the committee on Friday.
Very well, you can show it.
Honorable Chair, I'm directing the witness to the letter and its attachment from Eyeafrica Services dated 3rd October 2018. It's titled Evaluation of Assorted Items Used by Dunes Resort.
Okay.
You've taken a look?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Let's go to the second page, please.
Which page?
The second, after the cover letter, the first
Yes.
page of it's titled Evaluation of Furniture and Other Items at Dunes Hotel Resort.
Yes.
We'll just go through the report, and I'll just be directing you to numbers, and you just read out that line.
Okay.
Yes. Can you please read out number 1?
Number 1, set of mattresses and bedboards. Container number 1, quantity 11. The reserve price 55,000. Remarks good.
So the 11 mattresses were valued at $55,000.
Yes. Used mattresses and bedboards.
Okay. All right. Number 5.
Large TV stand with drawers, 14, container side 1, 14,000, fairly good.
Okay. 11.
Large wall mirror, 15, container left side, 7,500, framed mirrors.
17.
Says room, but basically referring to the guest room, 7 refrigerators. These were small guest room refrigerators, 10,500. Left side container.
Okay. So 7 of them were were valued at 10,500. So at the end of the first page, can you just, the table has 32 items.
Yes.
And quite the quantity is quite a lot, and a subtotal of 190,100.
Yes.
That's the reserve price.
Yes.
Valuation given by the valuer.
Yes.
At the second page, can you read out number 35?
35. Television set, hyper digital Megasonic 4, 800, needs attention. I believe needs repairs. That's what you meant. Yes.
Needs attention means it needs repairs.
Yes.
All right. 49.
49. Sofa set 1, right side container, 1,500. Good.
A full sofa set. All right, let's go to...
I don't think it was a full sofa set. I think it was 2-seater sofa set. These were in the bedrooms, from what I recall, yes.
Okay.
But you have to take into account, these were not new furniture. And some of them had holes, stains. So each item has to be considered on its own in terms of its status and wear and tear. So
all right.
It's important to highlight that we're not talking about new furniture or a well-managed resort.
And the total for that page of the evaluation report is $82,500.
Yes.
And we go on to the third page, which is the last page of the report.
Council?
Yes, please.
Committee members, none of the committee members have a copy of this particular document. I don't know whether you have excess copies there.
I actually have the original that the witness has submitted, but I believe printing were given to make copies for the technical team and the committee.
Well, the fact of the matter is none of them. If it was like one or two, we could have maybe this supply, but none have it.
So, Honorable Chair, what does the committee suggest we do in this instance?
What the committee is suggesting is if it could be available before the end of his testimony, because otherwise we couldn't really follow properly.
Sorry, so should I shelve this, move on to something else while? Okay, let me move on to another company then.
Oh yeah, here's this one. Yeah.
All right, so Honorable Chair, I'll move on and then we will come back to, when Secretariat gets back, we will move on to, we'll go back to Dunes. So, Mr. Prom?
Yes.
Let's go to BPI. I wanted that to be, I wanted BPI to be the last company we deal with before we move on to...
I think it should be, because it was towards our conclusion.
Yes, but the members want to take a look at the document the two of us are looking at.
That's fine.
Yes, and we should, so therefore, let's go to BPI.
Okay.
I think BPI has a lot of information, sure. So by the time we get the documents, we can just go back and then
That's fine.
we can come back. So let's go to BPI.
Okay.
It's part of the companies that, so you mentioned 3 companies that the commission had.
Yes.
3 companies that the commission had also appointed AP to take custody of.
Yes.
So it was Dunes, BPI, and what was the third one, please?
Westport Logistics.
Westport Logistics.
Yes.
So before we move on, where does Synindola fall in these ones, in these companies? Does it fall under BPI too?
No. Synindola was a subsidiary of Canalite Farms.
Okay, so Synindola is under KFF.
It's on the High Court, yes.
Yes, from the High Court.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about Synindola then. Before we go back to these three companies.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine.
All right.
Yeah.
So KFF, that's the first order then, the first order of the High Court.
Yes, May 27th.
May 22nd May.
Yes.
So AP took custody of and control of Synindola from May, or should I say from June, since the letter was received in June?
I can't recall the date we took custody, but I know we went with the task force to Synindola. We took inventory. It was found dormant, but there was a cleaning crew.
So it was dormant at the time?
We found it dormant.
Okay.
And it also had a few debt suppliers, I think NAWEC as well. It was indebted.
Okay.
And dormant. And there was a cleaning crew. We maintained them and paid them to take care of the resort and local guards. So well,
right.
We found it dormant and it had some debts to pay.
And it had accounts as well?
Yes, I believe at
Unlike the
First
others?
International Bank.
Okay.
Yes.
And these accounts, did they have some money?
It had some funds, yes. I don't remember the exact amount.
Okay.
And it was used to take care of the operational expenses of the...
And the cleaning crew?
Yeah.
Okay. So during the 2 years in which AP was the receiver for Synindola, was Synindola still laying dormant?
No.
Until the end, or at some point did it also commence operations?
It was subleased on an annual basis to give it some economic activity. Because, you know, with this type of assets, if you just leave it dormant, it loses value and, you know, they quickly depreciate, unlike if it's been taken care of or managed. So it was I don't recall all the details. We had many encounters. I think there was a foreign businessman interested, a Turkish. I don't remember the details, but whoever came to the office with interest, we tell you it's not for sale. If you're interested, you can write. So we have it in file. And that is what we're sending. You know, Synindola, the location is sensitive. So it was not prudent at that time, looking at the political context of things, to advertise. It could be seen as, okay, even you can advertise and say management, sublease, some could take it as if they're selling it. So that's the reason, you know, it was not prudent at that time to advertise. But what we did, we contacted local tour operators to see if they were interested, those that were in the industry and that could give it some activity. But to be honest, we didn't advertise. We wanted to, but the location at that time and all the political maneuvering happening, it was not a prudent decision. And I think we made the right decision. It could have been seen as if it was being sold when that was not the case. So it was subleased to Unison. And as far as we're concerned, there were inventory reports. As part of the lease, Unison will take care of all the lodge's needs. I think it had 40 rooms. It was a well-built resort or lodge. And then we were doing annual inspections as well. As part of there was a clause in the sublease that we'll have to come and do inspections, which was done. So, but overall, I think he did a big favor to the lodge. Looking at the location, he tried to bring in some business, some workshops. The time we were handing over in June 2019, it was still under a sublease agreement. So now what happened after that, we do not know.
All right, but the sublease was just for an annual.
Yeah, because they actually wanted 5 years.
Okay. Because,
you know, when you're negotiating with tour operators, it's long-term negotiations, and that gives you more leverage to bring in guests. But if it's annual, you know, it restricts your revenue and your projections and your negotiation leverage. But they agreed, and I think, you know, so it was being subleased annually for $3 million. So, but initially they wanted 5 years, because in the tourism sector, you try to get long-term leases and subleases, but we couldn't do that because we were operating 6 months basis. But we thought it was a good idea to reopen it and give activity to the village and employment, and that's what happened.
All right, and at this point, did Unison pay their lease?
Yes, they were very compliant.
Okay.
He was a serious businessman. He's been in the industry for over 20 years.
All right.
Credible people. We just don't give it to anybody.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's fine. And you mentioned also, like, all the other companies, Synindola also had debt.
Yeah, I think it had.
Was it as significant as the others, for example?
No, it wasn't that high.
Okay.
But it had debt. I think suppliers were claiming. NAWEC also, I think, wanted to claim afterwards because it wasn't paying utilities. But there were some debts. I don't remember the amount of head, but it's disclosed in the receivership report.
It's in the reports?
I think volume 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But not as high as Canalai Farms and KGI. Those had 50, 100 million in
Yes.
debt. So.
Okay, and eventually the debts were cleared.
Was in dollar?
At the time you were handing over to the other receiver.
No.
To
when,
AG.
When we were handing over, the total debt was about 933 million, almost $1 billion if you take into account litigation.
For all the companies.
Consolidated.
Okay.
And like I said, if the cash flow could sustain debt repayment, we did it. But most of these companies at that time didn't have executive support, so most were dormant and couldn't have, the cash flows were low as well, because you sustain based on the cash flow, what's coming in.
All right. Unlike the other companies where there was issues of litigation, did Synindola also face such an issue, or was it?
No, I don't recall Synindola facing
All right.
litigation.
That's fine. Then from Synindola, we're now, I think, done with the 17. We're going back to BPI.
Okay.
So let's talk about when AP was appointed as a receiver for BPI.
Yes.
So June's was the one that was first, AP was first appointed to be receiver by the commission, and then eventually BPI came.
And Westport.
BPI and Westport were together.
Yes.
So do you remember the date?
Of the commission's order?
Mm-hmm.
It was in early 2018, I think April 2018.
2018.
Yes.
So it was Westport and BPI, and then Westport was dormant.
Westport was a sea container scanning company. It had 3 vehicles. One of them was a scanner, worth 2 million euros. But it was dormant. It had a concession agreement with the former government. But from what we were informed, we found the directors on the ground before they left, that the last minute, the former president, I think, terminated the concession. They had a task force, but there was an issue. I don't think he was happy with something. So the vehicles were parked, and the scanner was stored at ports in a warehouse. But from what I recall, the scanner was worth about 2.3 million euros. It was new.
Okay.
And most importantly, when we were concluding, we handed it over to AG, former AG.
It was handed over to former AG
Yeah, I remember.
at the end of
Our receivership.
for the commission's receivership, or I believe your receiver the AP's receivership with the commission's appointment ended before the ones of the High Court, isn't it?
Yes, because the commission concluded end of March.
Yes.
And then the High Court orders continued, took over up to
June.
17 June when it expired.
Yes.
Our status, yes.
All right.
But when the commission was concluding, well, I will get to that point, the push and pull.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, we didn't receive any further instructions on Westport. I think at that time they were also overwhelmed trying to conclude, and there was so much going on. Everybody is trying to cover their own end. So.
Okay, and so eventually just handed over to the AG.
Yeah, the vehicles. I remember the keys of those 3 vehicles. It was a Nissan Pathfinder, a Kia Sorento, silver vehicles. We sent pictures and details to your team.
Yes.
And yeah, I remember we handed the vehicles keys. During the handing over process, we were dealing mostly with Mr. Binger, the former director of litigation.
Okay.
He was the main contact person, and they were signed handover notes. Yes.
All right. Okay. So Westport is apart from the, can I call it the failed concession agreement?
Yes, of the former government.
Yes.
Yes.
That the former government had with its partners. Were these partners Gambians? Was it a Gambian company or?
No, they were Romanians.
Okay.
The head company was based in Dubai, but they had different subsidiaries in Gambia.
All right. These partners, were they claiming for anything else, or when the concession was terminated by the former president, things ended there, and the assets were just here in the Gambia?
from what I recall, when it was terminated, they didn't push, they just left it as it is. But I think from what I recall, the contract was given to another company, not them. Maybe they were in the front line. In the end, something happened. What exactly, I cannot speculate. But I remember there was a concession agreement in file, but it didn't go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Back to BPI.
Yes, okay.
So when the commission appointed AP to be the receiver for BPI, how did the discussions come about? Were there meetings with the commission before the commission made its order?
No, there was no meetings. The Romanians had BPI Group, FZE, the holding company in Dubai, which was a smart move because you were dealing with international laws now if you base it outside, and the subsidiaries in Gambia. So they were smart. They had different layers of protection, what we call corporate protection. So the BPI order, it caught us off guard. We were not expecting it. There was no discussion. We just received the order, and that same day we went to the hotel, contacted the banks, contacted the tour operators, and that's how it. But there was no formal briefing about the BPI. It just suddenly came, and we took action.
All right. So immediately you received the order, you visited the hotels.
Yes.
The two hotels. Mm-hmm. That is Ocean Bay and
Sun Beach.
Sun Beach.
Yes.
And had to speak to the management. Can you just inform or just explain to the committee when you took over what you found with these two hotels? So maybe we can start with Ocean Bay. How well was the hotel doing, or was it not doing well at all when it came to finances, the employees? Were there any? Was the hotel facing any lawsuits at the High Court or any other court?
No. You know what? At that time, this was after the political impasse. So the tourism industry was recovering. It was so the hotels were starting to be profitable. We didn't find them dormant or insolvent. So we had a meeting with management. We gave them a copy of the court orders, but they already knew the firm and our profile, so that gave them assurances, and there was a high level of cooperation, and then that's how we took over. And normally, when you take over, the director should give you what we call the statement of affairs in 14 days. It's like a balance sheet, and they provided that. And then each hotel, because these are big hotels, we positioned what we call the deputy receiver managers. Both of them had hotel experience as well for decades, so it's not just anybody going in there. We put in the internal auditor because there are a lot of transactions. We had a meeting with tour operators. They had concerns, but we built up assurance with them. Otherwise, the hotels would have lost guests. You're talking about Thomas Cook, TV, Corendon, major tour operators. So they had options to take their guests to another hotel in Gambia or to Spain, Portugal, but they already knew who we were. So that helped to build assurance, and they maintained guests. So we managed the hotels for 8 months. It was very profitable. We made improvements across the board, capital upgrades. I think if you look at the BPI tourism report we sent to the commission, there's a long list of improvements. But from what I recall of it, we increased salaries. We terminated expat staff about 5 to 10 and saving the hotel 1.34 million. We brought in new generators, new equipment, renovations. We enhanced, the financial management system was not satisfactory. So we took steps to enhance what we call internal controls, financial reporting. So the controls were very tight. Some staff were not happy with it, but still, So as a result, the profits went up drastically. Certain months you'll have profit margins over 20%, which was very positive. So we stabilized the hotels and improved and made it profitable, as far as we're concerned.
At the time of appointment as receiver for BPI,
yes,
you were saying that you were not notified by the commission before it made its order with regards to BPI.
Yeah, not that I recall. We just received the order, yes.
Was fees ever discussed?
No.
With the commission?
No.
Even after the order was made?
No, because if you look at the Dunes order, that was the first order from the commission. The receivership fees was to be handled by AG. the commission initially didn't care about receivership fees because they already knew the receivership fees were set at 10%, and then dormant companies 100,000, which was reasonable. It was actually supposed to be 12% or so, but AG was very tight-fisted, complaining, and we didn't want. This is a sensitive national matter. We didn't want fees to overshadow, so we brought it to 10%, which was a fair industry rate, and we gave total discounts to almost over 2 million just to keep the peace and keep things going. And we were thinking it would last 6 months. So 10% was the set rate. It was approved by the High Court, but the Commission never bothered about fees. But they knew that the fee was 10%. And even the reports, the correspondences, the Dunes report, you'll see 10%. So they were not in a position to play amnesia and then tell the receiver we didn't know 10%. So. And apparently there was a cover letter when we were sending the BPI tourism report that indicated, the receiver indicated we intend to maintain the 10% fee. So the fee was not an issue until after, towards our conclusion stage. But it was 10% for active companies and 100,000 for dormant companies, taking into account you're operating on short-term basis. And for the Commission, unlike the High Court orders, you have 6 months. You can at least think ahead, plan. The Commission, there was no timeline. You're operating month to month. Anytime, new orders can come in and you have to take action. So, but they were well aware that the receivership fee was 10%. But if it was an issue, they would have put it in their subsequent orders. So, because it was already negotiated and agreed at 10%. That's why, and all these cases, the Commission's work and the High Court work, it was related. It was under the same legal engagement. So, it was not an issue, but in the end they wanted to make it an issue, and they were not standing on strong legal grounds, as you will find in the evidence.
All right, we will get to the issues surrounding the end of AP's receivership when it came to BPI.
Okay.
Yes. You mentioned that when the changes were being made, or some of the changes that AP made with the 2 hotels,
yes,
there were employees that were not happy. Did this ever result to legal issues, such as the employees filing maybe suits at the industrial tribunal?
No. There were already staff litigations before it came into effect.
Okay.
So that continued at the Canopy Tribunal.
Okay.
But as far as during our tenure, well, I mean, hotels, big hotels, to deal with a lot of theft incidents. And with us coming with financial management, audit, insolvency background, we know where to close the leakages. So you're talking about 400 employees. And of course, even though we increase salaries, if you were able to take inventory every month, $100,000, that's a lot of money, and sell it or whatever. There were certain processes where cash was being disbursed and there was no proper trail, or because we were even informed when they heard we were coming, there were certain practices they themselves stopped because they knew we were not accepted. So of course you will have most of the staff appreciated the way we work. We paid them on time, increased salaries, we took care of the issues. But you'll have some that were, of course, benefiting from the leakages that will not be happy. But we didn't receive any litigations, but we found some that were already ongoing. And of course, the Romanian expats too that we terminated, they were not happy. Some were getting paid 10,000 euros a month, vehicle, you live in the hotel, all your meals are covered by the hotel. So if that is removed from your privileges, you're not going to be happy. And that saved the hotel 1.34 million because we didn't see the value they were bringing. We maintained about 3 expats, what we call essential staff, but about 4 to 5 were removed because they were, we gave them, we are fair, we gave them a chance. What value are you bringing to the hotel? No reports, nothing. So we took them out. It was a summary dismissal in some cases.
All right, so apart from the staff litigation that was going on at the Canopy Industrial Tribunal,
yes,
did any of the hotels or even BPI itself, was it in any other legal issues, going to court with any other individual, company, or public entity? Were there such issues that BPI faced during these 2 years?
Yes, the hotels are owned by Social Security. And they did a long-term lease, I think 15, 16 years with BPI Dubai. So when the new, when the former president was removed, Social Security and the new government and political context, economic context, Social Security got more lucrative offers for the hotels, going up to 500, 600,000 euros. But you've already negotiated an ironclad long-term lease in 2013 or so. I think what they should have done was go back and renegotiate with the Romanians. But of course, you have to take into account that time the political context. So as a result, they wanted to terminate the lease. The Romanians, it went to the High Court. It went to the Court of Appeal. I think it was referred for international arbitration. So we, not just the Jammeh Commission, there was also another litigation taking place over the hotels. And then Jammeh Commission came and then put a freeze. And then so you have two legal barriers or issues regarding those hotel properties.
All right. And towards the end, these lawsuits were still ongoing by the time AP handed over.
Yes, I think it went to Court of Appeal. It was referred for international arbitration because BPI is based in Dubai, so
okay.
I think they invoked certain international legal privileges. How it ended, I'm not sure, because we handed over in June 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we just continue with the issues surrounding with BPI, you mentioned fees, 10%, 100,000 for dormant companies. Can you just clarify these? And this was fully discussed with the 17 companies with the AG, for the 17 companies with the AG?
Yeah, if you recall, in the beginning, we sent a receivership proposal.
Yes, which they accepted.
I think they even mentioned 12%, but we took it down to 10, so that, because the fees were paid according to volume we were submitting to the High Court. So it could have been 12, but we just maintained it at 10, because we didn't, AG was very tight-fisted. And to be honest, the fee approval was with the High Court. But like I said, you're dealing with parties, so you give them an ear and try to accommodate them. So, and we didn't want the fee matter to overshadow the whole process. And in the end, we gave a total discount of 2 million.
After the 10% agreement?
Well, it was 12, we took it to 10, but
okay.
Towards the end, all the total discounts we gave, it went to 2 million. Our lawyer too, there was a lot of fuss about his fees. I don't know why. He too had a discount, about 1 million or 1.5. His fees, to be honest, were low. If you look at what top lawyers are charging for those type of cases. But like I said, you have to give each, and you take into account. You're between the former president, Yahya Jammeh, and you're between a new government represented by AG, not just shareholders or creditors. So you have to walk a fine line in terms of transparency and compliance. So it was a very tricky situation, And that time the momentum was also towards the former AG because there's a new government, a lot of international and regional pledges, billion euros. So they had leverage. But nevertheless, we did our best to maintain neutrality and stay transparent. But I remember even the High Court judge, because Volume 2, it took 8 months before we got paid. I don't recall the delay. I remember the judge telling us, fees should come to my desk. And we explained to her the situation, and then she approved the fees.
Why did the judge say that fees should be presented to the court first?
Well, because Volume 2, the fees, I think there was 8 months or almost a 1 year delay. I don't recall what it was, but there was a lot of fuss about fees. Gambia, unfortunately, if your fees reach $1 million, you prepare to defend your life. But when international firms come, they get paid millions of dollars. But local firms, accountants, and consultants, unfortunately, they are not given a fair treatment. So there was a lot of noise from AG about the fees, legal fees, but the fees were reasonable. If an international firm was doing the job we were doing, you were not getting nothing less than £1 million for 20 companies with a high risk element. So, but I remember Volume 2, there was a delay, and then, but we told the judge that, normally in receiverships, you're dealing with creditors or shareholders. So you have to take into account their concerns, and that's what we were doing. But we didn't want them to feel like, oh, they're taking advantage of the situation. And, we were targeting 6 months and manage and handle. It went up to 2 years with endless corporate clashes. Well, there was no initial orders because by the time you're filing your affidavit, you should mention, like the parties will go over profiles of receivers. And there are not many. and then they will agree. And then, or you file ex parte motion. So by the time it gets to the High Court, the fee is already set. But in this case, the fee was set later, after negotiations, and we then agreed at 10% instead of 12, just to bring figures down to what was acceptable to the former AG, who was the applicant in this case.
So eventually when the fees were agreed upon, was the court notified?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Because before you get paid, you have to file an ex parte motion, and then the judge will approve and put evidence to that effect.
Okay.
Which included our reports.
So can we say that AP was paid after each report was filed at the High Court?
Yes.
Okay.
It was based on the volume 1 to 3 payments.
Okay. And 3A, 3B were filed together?
Yes, 3B is for the 3 commissioned companies on the Jammeh Commission. 3A, those were the final report. They was filed together.
All right.
And I believe AG was given a copy towards the end, yes.
Okay. All right. Very well. So now that we've dealt with fees, let's go back to BPI. You were able to, you mentioned 400 employees. Was this for the 2 hotels combined?
Yes, combined.
Okay.
Actually 420 or 430, just over 400.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when salary increments were being done, was this for both hotels as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we took into account the cash flow and the profitability, and then the hotel could sustain it.
Okay.
And we made the decision.
To increase the staff salary.
Yes.
All right. So apart from these lawsuits that BPI had at the High Court, up to the Court of Appeal, and at the Industrial Tribunal, were there any other issues that these 2 hotels faced with difficulties as business was picking up for them? Were there other challenges?
Managing a hotel is not easy. You deal with the usual, guest issues, staff issues, but there were interested parties that wanted the hotels.
They wanted to buy, or they wanted to be the lessee?
Some wanted to buy,
Okay.
Some wanted us to lease via Social Security. Actually, it was Social Security that first contacted us. They told us that they have received new offers for the hotels that are more lucrative, and I think the initial request was to terminate the lease. So we did our due diligence and got back to them that we cannot terminate the lease. The matter is at the High Court, and also the Jammeh Commission has frozen this hotel. So there are 2 legal barriers. Then they came back and said, okay, you cannot terminate the lease. And to be honest, I felt that at that point they were trying to misguide us, but we were more mentally alert. And we explained to them the whole structure, and then they came back and said they want a management contract so that these new operators could take over the hotels. But what the Romanians did, they had the lease signed with the parent company in Dubai, and they had another subsidiary, BPI Tourism, that had a management contract with that parent company in Dubai. So there was already a management contract in place, so there was no way we could have transferred the hotel legally. You can study law for 1,000 years. If you look, there was no loophole. And if there was an option, with at that time the pressure we were facing, and it was legal, we would have transferred it. Because there was too much pressure. It came to the point we almost resigned. But we were not going to violate the law just for certain parties to have access to the hotels, and that made a lot of people unhappy. And in the end, we started to have complications.
So you've mentioned pressure,
Yes.
receiving pressure, but also the request from, you said, Social Security. At a point it looked like they were trying to misguide AP. Can you explain further? What do you mean Social Security tried?
Yeah, because they posted it to us. We're searching for the correspondences. There was a letter, and that letter said, you're a receiver of BPI, you can terminate the lease. And, if you don't have a strong corporate legal background, you can just go ahead without taking into account the implications. Because 1, the lease is at the High Court between the owner and the sublessee, the Romanians. 2, frozen by the Jammeh Commission. 3, there's a management contract. So the receiver had 3 barriers. Everybody knew this, but it was like as if they were trying to use us or misguide us. So we told them there's no way. We sympathize. We know Social Security is in charge at that time is in charge of pension. We take into account this is a government entity, and if we had option, legal safe option to transfer, we would have done it, but we couldn't. So then they came back and said, okay, you cannot cancel the lease. Management contract. No, we cannot do management contract. There's already a management contract in place. And then we also, the Romanians, their lawyers also wrote to us around that time that, that there's a case at the High Court bringing it to attention with Social Security. So if you cancel the lease, there's going to be implications. I guess they heard that there were other parties trying to get a hotel. So they wrote to us, and then, but we couldn't transfer the hotels. But it seems like certain parties that wanted the hotel were trying to use us or misguide us, but we refused. And at some point, Social Security filed a motion at the Jammeh Commission itself. I remember the wording. I don't remember many documents, but I remember the wording to compel the receiver Augustus Prom firm to release the hotels to Social Security. It was filed by Abdullahi Sissoho. So our lawyer went to defend at the Jammeh Commission. There was a adjudication or whatever, and Social Security lost the case because the matter was already at the High Court. So you cannot have two concurrent legal proceedings ongoing. So as a result, certain parties were not pleased with us. And on top of it, not only did you not hand over the hotel, you were managing it better than most could have managed it. It was profitable and improving. There was no way they could fault us, and I'm sure if they could, they would have. But I'll be honest, it seems like we were dealing with a particular powerful cabal that wanted these hotels, but we didn't release it, and I'm glad we didn't.
So all this pressure, it was not just for Ocean Bay, but also for
Sunbeach.
For
both hotels. But most of it was for Ocean Bay.
Okay.
Because Ocean Bay International Operator wanted it. They were claiming to invest in, yes, it's a big company. They were claiming to invest in Gambia, I think 100 million. So everybody was just jumping and rolling over just for them. That's my concern as well. If an investor comes and tells you, I'm going to invest 100 million in Gambia, ask for proof of funds and a bank guarantee. How many investors come to Gambia, promise us, and then leave? So 90%. So, but we knew what we knew. We just kept it diplomatic and neutral. And in the end, this operator ended up leaving during COVID. They effected force majeure and left. So what was the point of all that drama and giving it to them?
All right. So you had mentioned pressure and or you mentioned a cabal.
Yes, it seems like a cabal. That's what it felt like. Because
so,
there were different hands.
Okay. So I am interested in knowing.
I cannot back legally, but it seems the pressure we were facing, it seems like there's a cabal that wanted these hotels.
Okay, so you've made it clear that Social Security clearly wanted their hotels back and maybe to
sublease or even management at the time wanted the hotels to give it to tourism-based companies or companies that were involved in tourism, because they were offering more sublease figures than the Romanians.
Okay.
But the lease they signed with the Romanians was very
security, just wanting a new direction for their hotels.
There was individuals that came to the hotel that mentioned interest, and when we tell them to write, whoever comes will just tell you write, so that it's on record. But most will not write. People from all walks of life. I don't even want to mention certain things, but not certain, but because I don't have the document on record. There were certain parties that wanted to buy. We'll tell them, can you write? But we didn't hear from them. But most of the pressure was coming from Social Security that wanted the hotels back, but we couldn't hand it over. There was a lease, there was a litigation, there was a management contract. We had no legal room or option. If we did, we would have, because there was too much pressure at that time. And we didn't want to be seen as, they want the assets. We were trying to hand over within 6 months. It came to the point we were thinking of resigning, to be honest. But we consulted, and the feedback we got, including allies in the government, is that if you resign, one, that's what they want, and two, it could taint a national process. So we just kept patient and wanted to just see the process through, because things were coming to a conclusion, But we thought of resigning, and we thought of, if there was an option, we would have handed over the hotels.
And all of this happened in, is it a little over a year that AP had custody and control of BPI?
No.
Seems like a lot of.
The minute we got the court order, within a short time, we had a letter from Social Security.
Okay.
Sorry, the minute we got the Jammeh Commission order, putting
yes.
the hotels in receivership,
Yes.
shortly around that time, there was a letter from Social Security telling us, terminate the lease, you are receiver of BPI. We told them no. BPI has different structures. There's a company in then they came back, management contract. No, there's a management contract. So what options did we have? So they were trying to mislead us or get us to do something to get what they want, and then tomorrow we will face the consequences. So as a result, I don't think they were being fair or respectful.
All right, and then eventually these hotels operated with no other challenges.
No, apart
Seems
from
like all the challenges were faced instead of by the hotels, but by AP.
well, because AP is the company, you are the person in front. So whatever the company is dealing with, you deal with it. But apart from the usual hotel challenges, staff, guest issues, inventory issues, maintenance issues, there was no other. After they lost the case at the Jammeh Commission, then I guess they backed out and kept quiet. But Gambia being a small country, you always hear they're not happy with you, they're not happy with you. At that point, we were fed up. We really didn't care, to be honest.
How long was the case before the commission? Can we even call it a case? But how long
It
did
was
that?
a motion to compel the receiver to hand over the hotel, and Chairman Suruta turned it down because the matter was already at the High Court. You cannot have two dual, legal proceedings. So, but we defended it. Our lawyer had to go and present a motion.
As well,
Yes,
before the commission.
So it was just but it was turned down. And I think it was the right decision at the time, legally.
All right then. So I had initially asked, apart from Social Security, who else or what other entity was also putting pressure on AP or dissatisfied with the whole lack of transfer of the hotels with Social Security. So please take a look at this is the last sentence of paragraph 7 of your statement.
Okay. Sorry, which paragraph?
7. Last sentence, if you can just read it out for the committee.
The last line, yeah?
Yes. It starts with at this juncture.
Okay. Well, basically, this paragraph was about our conclusion with the commission and the fees and hotel issues, but it says, at this juncture, the former AG MOJ was not pleased with the AP receivership for not transferring the BPI tourism hotels to interested parties. Taking into account these hotels were already under litigation at the High Court between Social Security and BPI Investment Group UAE, and also frozen by the Jammeh Commission. And there's evidence to that effect, because the former AG wrote to us, telling us not to block the motion of Social Security. And that was presented to your team. We are not just, whatever we do, we have the evidence to that effect as well. So that tomorrow nobody will come and try to tell me about defamation lawsuit. The evidence is there.
I think in the morning, the Honorable Chair had informed you that anything discussed here or any answer you give to the questions asked either by the committee or by the legal team cannot be used against you in a lawsuit. The chair, I believe the chair was clear in that.
Yes. I think it's in the Constitution.
Yeah, so
but you know, Gambia is a tricky place. They can, no, I'm not worried. To be honest, we were disappointed with them. We lost respect for them. But they can try to get at you different ways. So we are always defensive and mindful.
Okay, so
but the evidence, I must emphasize, is there. Yeah. And you have it. So tomorrow, nobody will come and tell me you're speaking stories.
Okay.
We're very careful and fair to everybody.
All right. So just as you're talking about evidence, you had mentioned the letter from Social Security.
Yes.
About the hotels. Is that can you provide that with the other documents that you've promised to provide by Friday?
Yes, by Friday.
Yes.
You know, you're talking about thousands of records. But
I know.
Luckily, we were scanning and keeping, you know, so that's what helped us to respond to you. Because if you want to go to the main archives and we move office, it will take much time. But some of these correspondences are in file.
Okay.
Yeah. But I do remember the first letter was telling AP you're the receiver, terminate the lease, which was misleading and wrong. And to be honest, we were even offended by it. We were thinking, did they make a mistake or they thought we were stupid?
All right. So the reason I made you read out that last sentence of paragraph 7 is that I had asked, apart from Social Security, which other institutions were putting pressure on AP when it came to this transfer issue? And here it's clear that the AG was also quite invested, if I can say that, with regards to the transfer or terminating the lease rather than terminating the lease with the investment group, BPI investment group.
Yes. Yes, basically it was Social Security and the former AG, and there's evidence to that effect. And to do that would have been illegal.
All right. And at this point, after receiving the AG, Social Security's letters, the AG's letter, what was going through the mind of AP at that point to have to be put into writing and sent to AP, to be asked with a lot of pressure to terminate this lease agreement? Mm-hmm. What other remedies did AP try to maybe reach out to the High Court? You had mentioned earlier about an issue that was the claims were so much that you had to speak with the Chief Justice. Was this also something you thought about doing? Did you do that?
No, we didn't need to, because our lawyer was defending the case at the Jammeh Commission. You know, the commission has the powers of a high court. So that's why the Social Security filed a motion to compel the receiver to release the hotel. So there was a proceeding to that effect. Because the matter was already at the High Court, so we couldn't interfere to that effect between Social Security and the BPI group.
All right, so eventually, can we say, I did not want to get into the termination of or the end of the receivership, mm-hmm. but let's just talk about it a little, then we can go back to Dunes.
Okay.
Now that the committee has its copies. Can we say these are some of the issues that arose or were building up upon the termination?
Of BPI?
No, not BPI, of AP's receivership with BPI.
Sorry, with BPI or the entire engagement?
So the engagement with the court, the 17 companies, they ended in June.
Yes.
Yes. But for the other 3 companies, they ended first before the 17. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Starting with BPI.
Right.
Yeah.
So my question is, these issues with Social Security, with the AG, are these some of the issues that led to the termination of the receivership?
It's possible.
Okay, but not entirely.
There was a lot of, you can't put your finger until you have solid evidence, but the way things were moving, there was momentum against the receivership. especially, I think, the other companies we were facing litigations, there were challenges. But once the hotels came into play, things just escalated.
Okay.
Because you're talking about hotels that are worth, what, each one, let's say $10 million. Revenue is over $150 million. It's profitable. So of course, it's natural for people to go after the hotels, but you have to do it through proper procedure. But personally, at that point, if there was an option to release it, we would have released it. But there were 3 legal barriers we couldn't bypass. And if we had done that, it would have been illegal, and we would have been found negligent, and the Romanians would have sued us. But what offended us most was those going after there was no legal option. If there was, we would have. Because it came to the point we were thinking of resigning as well.
Which eventually changed your mind when it came to resigning.
Yeah, we consulted with lawyers and confidants, and they told us, well, that's what they want, and 2, if you resign, it could taint a national process, taking into account the first commission secretary resigned under very controversial circumstances. So it was a sensitive national matter. Us pulling out, to be honest, and truly, it would have tainted the entire. They will ask, why is the receiver that was doing a good job? Speaking of receiver, if you look at the Jammeh Commission reports, volume 1, there's a line that says there the receiver is doing a good job. Their own wording. So if the receiver is doing a good job, how come all of a sudden he wants to extract and resign and just give it to you? So because things were coming to a conclusion in early 2019, so we just kept patient while we were negotiating. AG was not responding to us at that time because he was not happy with the hotels. There were certain matters, fee matters, transfer matters. He didn't respond. All he said was just transfer, and that's where we concluded.
All right, so take a look. Let's go back to dunes.
The valuation?
Yes. I had stopped at the grand total. So let's just give the committee a chance to find. Honorable Chair, the document we are referring to is on the letterhead of ENMEC Services, dated 3rd October 2018. Attached to this letter is a report, a 3-page report.
He took my copy. He took my copy for photocopying. Okay.
Oh, yes, that's it.
No,
They'll hand it over to you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, Mr. Prom.
Yes.
So we had talked about the first page. Sorry, Honorable Chair, is the committee at that? Okay, very good. So the total valuation price for all of these furniture and furnishings comes to a grand total of $349,550.
Yes.
All right. And then right after that, report is also the sale report.
Yes.
So how many days did the sale take?
2 days.
2 days.
Yes.
All right.
We couldn't sell everything in the first day, so we invited the buyers to come back and we conclude, because we had 14 days to conclude. But our target was to exceed the valuation benchmark, which we did, taking into account the conditions of the assets.
Taking into account?
The conditions of the asset.
Okay.
Yeah, it's coming from a neglected, termite-infested resort.
Okay.
Yes.
So it took 2 days and AP was able to sell everything that
Almost everything.
in the hotel. Okay.
There were, in the end, there were about 3 or 4 shelves, few chairs that were not sold. I think the buyers were not interested, so it was moved. There's a store. If you enter the resort, the first block on the right, there's a small store there. That's where it was taken to. But there were few items outstanding, wooden chairs and few shelves, 2 to 4, but it was not much. But we couldn't sell everything. But it was stored at the resort.
Okay. You were not able to sell this because the condition was very bad, or the buyers were just not interested in it?
Well, it's a public auction, and buyers are bidding as is. And, we sent you photographs to show you the condition of the assets. Some were broken, some had burnt marks, some had mold. So we're not talking about new assets or assets that were well maintained. If the buyers knew that the assets were coming from a termite-infested resort, I don't think we would have met our target. What we told them was, you'll have to clean and vanish, but we didn't want to bring down the values. But assets were sold as is in a public setting, and it was advertised. And we had 14 days to conclude, so we were also rushing to quickly finalize and send our reports. And then, but the funds were accounted for. When we concluded, it was wired, and we sent the information.
What was the total amount that AP was able to get from these furniture?
It was about 363,000.
363, so not quite a significant amount as compared to the valuation report, is it? Because the valuation report comes to a total of 349, 550, and 363, 534.
Yeah, but you take into account, 1, the condition of the assets. 2 is a public auction. Buyers are bidding as is. We have 14 days to conclude. So, and the valuation figure is not binding. It's just a benchmark to guide you. So you have to take into account the context of what's happening in the field at that time. But I know that it was transparent. It was diverse buyers. I remember seeing 2 government officials that came out of a GG. They greeted us, but I think they came to observe, but we didn't know which department they came from. So they were observers. The police guards were there. So it was an open, transparent setting. And whoever put in the highest bid price, that's what we went for.
Do you know who these officials from this GG cars are?
No, but I remember 2 young men coming out of this GG car. They greeted me, Mr. Prom, and then, but they didn't buy. So I suspected they were from some department from the government, because we advertised, so people knew that there was a sale going on. So whether they came to observe or buy, but I don't recall them buying anything. So maybe they were sent from some department to observe the process. But it was a whole day affair. We were under the sun up to evening time to try to finalize.
Okay, and subsequently, a report was sent to the commission.
Yes,
So
after we concluded, and to the AG as well, former AG.
So the expenses that were incurred in facilitating or organizing this sale, advertisement, the valuer's fees, where were these funds obtained from?
No, you deducted from the sale proceeds.
From the sale proceeds?
Yes.
And then what was left after that?
Well, yeah,
Is this
valuation, laborers.
the document I'm looking at? Titled Dunes Resort and Casino in Receivership, Public Auction of Furniture and Furnishings,
Yes.
11th and 13th. Income and expenditure statement.
Yes.
All right. So the total after expenses were knocked off was $253,868.39.
Net, yeah, we call it the net auction proceeds.
Okay.
Yes, after receivership fee, fuel, laborers, public notices, auctioneer, and valuation service.
All right. So this amount,
Yes.
was it held in an account by AP, or was it handed over to the commission, who would subsequently maybe hand over?
No, we maintain custody into a trust bank
Okay.
until we hand it over in June 2019,
All right.
and we transferred it. During the handover process, we transferred the funds.
All right. Who were the funds transferred to?
The funds were transferred to the new receiver trustee, in line with, by that time, our High Court order had expired on 17 June. We filed an ex parte motion for final submission and release. So we had no legal basis to continue as receiver. The commission had concluded. So with all that was happening, we didn't want to be seen as they are not even now ready. After all the issue with the hotels, if we wanted to press technicalities, it would have been seen as if they don't even want to hand over the company. So there was in the handing over, there were two letters from AG. May 2017, reminding us that the court order is expiring on 17 June, and he has no intention to do so, and to submit final reports. And then, but by that time, we were ready to resign. We were already working on our final report. So we submitted it to the High Court, filed ex parte motion, indicating it's a final report. We put the AG's letter as affidavit, and that, we have concluded and applied for release, and that's where our engagement ended. So, and then in July, there was another letter from the former AG that all funds should be transferred to the new receiver trustee, and which we did, including the Dunes funds.
Who was the new receiver trustee at that time?
Based on AG's letter, Mr. Alpha Barry.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the funds were transferred to Mr. Alphabet.
Yeah, the receiver trustee had an account at EcoBank. That's where we transferred all the remaining funds
Okay.
after our final fees.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Now that we've dealt with Dunes, I think we can go back. We've touched on the events leading to the end of the receivership.
Yes.
Both receiverships, the High Court and the Commission of Inquiry.
Yes.
So, since the Commission of Inquiry was the first one that ended, since the Commission wrapped up its work in
March.
2019,
Yes.
let's talk about those three companies
Okay.
that the Commission had appointed AP to take control and custody of. What are the events that led to the end and termination of apart from, of course, the Commission concluded its work, what are the events that led to?
Well, the Commission all of a sudden, I call it amnesia, came and said they were not aware of the 10% is too high regarding the hotels. But based on the documents and the briefings, they knew what was happening at the hotels. So they just cannot sit there and put hands up and say, we don't know. And 10% was already the approved rate. So they came and said, they wrote actually, it's in file, that 10% is high. It should be taken down to 3% on net profit. We didn't accept that. So they came back and said, $300,000 per month to manage two of the biggest hotels in Gambia. We didn't accept that because as a receiver, there's a rate involved. And at that time, the way we were managing the hotels and the profitability, even after the receivership fees, hovering around 15 to 20% net margin, there was no way. But if they had came to us in a dignified, reasonable manner and told us, Mr. Prom, okay, 10% might be too much money, you're doing well at the hotels, how about 7, how about 5? What we call reasonable grounds, what you lawyers like to use. We would have accepted, but they had no legal or financial basis. So we stood our ground. Then they came back, they even contradicted themselves. They came back and said, no, it's 3% on revenue. But they already wrote it's 3% on profit. It's in file. We sent it to you. And then they came back and said, to justify their position, as receiver, you should just be a custodian. You should not be involved in management of the hotels. So they were, and their order was for Augustus Prom to be the receiver manager. Not, you have receiver and receiver manager. Like, there's a fine line. But it's, there are certain technicalities. But still, as a receiver, you take custody and you administer and you manage. So they came back and said, oh, Mr. Prom, you shouldn't be receiver manager. We're just contradicting their own order. You should be just a custodian. That with a view to justify the 3% or to devalue the receivership fee. So we countered them and told them, no, you're contradicting your own order, you're contradicting the Companies Act. As receiver manager, you have full legal rights to manage a company, and we managed the hotels, managed it well, improved, and made it profitable. So they didn't have any legal or financial basis. If they did, we would have, if somebody wants to negotiate with you, you'll know. If we had 10%, and you come and tell me 3% on net profit, that wide margin, that was an indication that something is cooking. And at that point, we thought of resigning as well. But we were advised with, consulting, don't resign, that's what they want. It's a national matter. If you guys pull out, it could taint the whole process. And that was true. So if they had reasonable legal and financial grounds, we would have negotiated with them. But they wanted to intimidate, and we stood our ground. We did, it wasn't even offensive, what they were writing to us. So we didn't accept. Then they brought in a new receiver. But at that point, we were already working on our, at that time, parties were not happy we didn't hand over the hotels. Then the timing was funny, because at the same time we were, I guess, blocking the hotels from being handed over illegally, because there were barriers we couldn't bypass. Then this fee matter just came up all of a sudden. It was like something was being cooked, but they didn't have enough legal ingredients. And we stood our ground, and we even thought of taking it to the Supreme Court and Court of Appeal, but that would have just made too much attention, too much mess, and things were coming to a conclusion. So we were just like, let's be patient and finish with these people. But they had no solid legal or financial grounds to bring the fee down. And they were well aware the fee was 10%. Because if the fee was a concern for them, they would have indicated in their order. Taking into account, you have people with legal backgrounds in the commission.
Very well. And you've been mentioning they. When you say they, who are you referring to?
The Jammeh Commission.
So are you referring to the chairperson of the commission and the other commissioners, the other two commissioners, or who exactly?
Well, you had the 3 commissioners and you had the lead counsel.
Okay.
That was our last meeting with them. It was in February. I remember I have a snapshot of the what do you call it, minutes or notes? But they were notes, and it's in file. I remember the beginning of the meeting. Normally when they call us, we ask for the agenda so we can prepare. We went in, and the chairman said there is no perfect agenda, and then we discussed about dues, few other matters. Then the fee matter came up. All of a sudden, like I said, amnesia. We didn't know it was 10%, blah blah, trying to raise technicalities, and we countered it. Then they wrote to us and said 3% on non-profit. That's when we knew that it's time to exit. And we started making plans to finalize our reports. But we were ready to resign at that point as well. We were ready to resign when there was pressure for the hotels to hand over to zero security. We were ready to resign when the commission started acting funny about our fees and had no legal basis.
All right, so just before we move on to the issues of that meeting, did the meeting precede letters, or was there a letter bringing up this issue of fees and dues before you had that meeting you're mentioning with the commission?
I can't recall whether there was a letter before, but I know there was a letter after about the fee matter. But I remember we were inquiring on the agenda of the meeting, but I don't think it was submitted. Sometimes there are certain communications, it was over the telephone, we need you to come, we have a meeting, so, and you go. I don't remember if there was a letter, but I do recall the chairman mentioning there's no perfect agenda, and I wrote it down. But after the meeting, we just sensed that something was cooking. It was time to start packing and leave these people with their hotels and assets. But the way they were behaving was very disappointing, to be honest. They knew who we were, they could have negotiated fairly. The hotels were profitable, they were stable, we were improving it, But the timing was also suspicious. It was around the time we couldn't, not that we refused to hand over the hotels, we had no legal option to hand over the hotels. Otherwise, the Romanians, what would have happened Now, the hotels would have gone to the new top operators of Social Security, then the Romanians would come and sue us for every year of annual revenue loss. Mr. Prom, we lost 2 million euros this year. It was a 16-year lease times 2 million euros. You know how much money that is? And they would have had legal grounds to throw it at us. So, but if we had the option, we would have released the hotels. It was too much at that time. We were, well, I would not say fed up, but I don't know the word for it. But we were disappointed with how certain parties were behaving.
And certain parties, who do you mean by certain parties?
Well, Social Security, the former AG, their lawyers telling the Jammeh Commission, compel the receiver to release the hotels when you know that's illegal. You're a lawyer, 20 years of experience, you know that is not done. It was offensive. Like when you see them in public, they cannot even look at you in the eye. They just avoid you. They know what happened.
All right, very well. So eventually you received a letter from the commission.
Yes.
And then you also responded to this letter.
Yes.
You've mentioned that you made notes at this meeting. No perfect agenda, but you had notes. Do you still have these notes?
Luckily, I took a snapshot. You know what happened? We had what we call field notepads. So that's what we were using to jot meetings, and I had about 2 to 3, you know, all the members of the firm. So, you know, at that point, I tried as much as possible to scan every document I could, but, you know, took thousands of records. But the evidence we're giving you is from our electronic archives, luckily. But I remember, because of the importance of that meeting, I took a snapshot of it. And it was started with there's no perfect agenda, doomed resort, then the hotel fee came last. You know, they're trying, all of a sudden they didn't know about the 10%, and we counted it. Then they wrote 3% on net profit. That was the indication these people are not trying to negotiate. Something is cooking. And then contradicting the Companies Act, contradicting their own order, that you should just be a custodian of the hotel. 2 of the biggest hotels in Gambia, how can you be a custodian, just sitting there signing checks, doing what? So, but they were trying to justify their position, but it wasn't solid. We thought of taking it to the High Court, or if not High Court, but Court of Appeal and Supreme Court. But we consulted with lawyers, confidence in the government, people we knew, and you know, that would have just derailed the whole Jammeh Commission. So we just kept patient and just worked until negotiated. We brought the matter to AG. He didn't even care because he knew it was 10%. He just kept quiet.
So AG was aware of these?
Yeah, we were writing to him.
Okay.
Yeah. He's an important party to the case, but he didn't respond because he knew it was 10% and he was not happy with us at that time because we couldn't release the hotels to the new operators that were interested, giving higher offers to Social Security. So we were in a very funny position.
All right. So subsequently, you wrote a letter responding to the, I can say a lengthy letter.
No, we, the firm, wrote a letter.
Yes. By you here, I'm referring to the firm. Honorable Chair, I am referring the committee to RS 19. Yes, please. It's RS 19.
Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Prom, we've placed a copy of this letter before you. This is in response to a letter the Commission sent to AP.
Yes.
Like I said before, it's quite lengthy.
Yes, because
There's a lot of information.
we were defending our position at that point, so
You did that strongly.
we had to.
All right. So you've serialized issues, or should I say maybe topics,
Yes.
and dealt with them. The first one, you've titled it, or AP has titled it as Comments on My Role as the Receiver, as mentioned in your letter. Can you just explain to the committee, just what was the issue here? Why did AP feel there was really a need to highlight this and put it in writing effectively?
Well, you know, the commission came back and said 3% on net profit, which after they realized was a mistake. And there were even correspondences, they tried to cover it and say 3% on net revenue, but still, we were not going to accept that because of the status of the hotels at that time. So, with a view to devalue the receiver fee, they came and said, the firm should have been a receiver, not receiver manager. So basically, they were trying to justify the low fee they were quoting. But when they did that, they contradicted their own BPI tourism order, which mentions receiver manager. And receiver manager gives you more custody. Receiver, with a receiver, there could be limitations if it's emphasized by the court. Okay, maybe you can just collect this, pay liability, stop here. But there were no limitations in the High Court or Commission orders, and especially for BPI tourism, it mentioned receiver manager, which even gives you more legal rights. On top of it, their position was also contradicting the Companies Act in terms of the receiver manager role. So this is basically putting it to their attention that your position on bringing the fee is not valid. So they were trying to legally justify it or devalue, but they were not. It was not on solid grounds.
You stated that had the commission perhaps maybe requested for a fee reduction in the fee for maybe 8%, 7%, it would have been something.
Even 5, we would have.
You would have considered it.
Because we didn't want fees to overshadow the process, and we were looking forward to concluding.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't see that mention of that in your letter. Or was this something you proposed to the commission, or you felt it was not necessary?
No, we didn't mention it because if we were at 10% on revenue, because there was no timeline, we were operating the hotels on standby basis. Big hotels, month to month. Anytime legal developments can happen. So that 10% fee was fair. And also, if you look at what foreign firms would have charged, I think it could have been a bit more. It was fair because even after the fee, the hotels were very profitable and improving. So, but if you're negotiating with somebody, you will know if that person has what they call fair intent. If you come and tell us 3% on a net profit, it was an indication to us that they don't want to negotiate. They're just trying to find technicalities to remove the receivership, because no respectable firm would accept 3% on net profit for 2 of the biggest hotels in Gambia. But if they had given us reasonable basis, okay, how about 7% based on X, 5% based on X, we could have accepted. But the way they started, it was harsh. It was as if they wanted to intimidate as well. Oh, okay, you have to take this, compel. I think words used were compel, which means you are under instruction. But we paid no mind because we knew the job we were doing. We had confidence in our ability and the progress made. So we didn't accept 3%. They came back 300,000. We turned it down. Then that's where it concluded. They brought in another receiver, 4 site accountants, to take over, and we just exited. We thought of Supreme Court, but like I said, it was a sensitive national matter. It could have derailed the whole process, and we didn't want to be seen as being unpatriotic at that time as well. So, but we exited, and we were looking, to be honest, we were looking forward to concluding with the Commission and the former AG, because their behavior was not fair and not professional. And I can repeat that for the rest of my life. I'm speaking the truth. I'm on the road.
All right. So let's go to page 5 of this letter. The title for page 5 is Application to the Commission for Approval of Receiver Fees. Paragraph A, I'm just going to read the first sentence. Your point in the letter that an application on fees charged should have been made is well noted, and I intend to adhere. Can you further explain on that?
Well, you know, the only fee they mentioned was the first order, dues. Because at that time, the fee was already negotiated, approved by the High Court, 10%, 100,000 dormant companies. So this is basically making reference to that the fee was already agreed, and that the BPI tourism order didn't mention anything about fee. Because if they had concerns about the fee, you had a team of lawyers in the commission, it would have been stated in the BPI tourism order. And even if, I remember during the meeting, they themselves mentioned it was oversight. But the way they wanted to handle it, you don't come and tell us 3% on profit, we're not going to accept that. We'd rather resign. With all the job we were doing and the stress and challenges of the hotels, there was no way. So basically, at this point we were negotiating with the commission, but they didn't show intent to negotiate. They were very harsh. And AG was not responding. He knew it was 10%, he just basically exited himself out of the situation, because at that point he was not happy with us about the hotels, which we couldn't transfer legally.
Very well. You've talked about the 10% being applied to the funds generated from the sales at June.
The auction, yes.
Yes, and you had already the previous year, submitted that report to the commission, and they had seen what was charged.
Yes, 10%, and the AG as well.
And no issues arose from that.
The fee is not an issue. They wanted to make it an issue.
Okay, so we're coming to the end of this letter.
Okay.
And can you just talk about paragraph 5 and paragraph 6? The last two not actually the last two paragraphs, but the paragraph 5 and paragraph 6 of that letter. So it's page 6 again. This is not marked.
Sorry, I don't understand. You said paragraph 5.
Yes, so I said paragraph 5, paragraph 6. In the letter you've titled paragraph 5 as, you're speaking here about conflict of interest, and before we go to 6, let's just stay on paragraph 5. Why did AP feel there was a need to mention the contents of paragraph 5 of this letter? Conflict of interest,
okay,
as relating to lead counsel.
Well, because that last meeting we had with the commission, to be honest, it was very cold. It was all of a sudden you're dealing with a different set of people. And they themselves put in their volume 1 report, the receivership was doing a good job. So if he's doing a good job, why can't you fairly negotiate with him? But during that meeting, the commissioners were mostly quiet. And to be honest, it was the lead counsel that was heading that meeting. We felt...
Sorry, where's the chair of the commission was present?
All the commissioners were there. Okay. I believe the secretary was there. I can't recall, but I think she was there. Ramatulai. She was, but the commissioners didn't say much in this meeting, this last meeting. It was being chaired or led by the lead counsel. So she was throwing things at us, we were countering and defending. But it was a very cold meeting. It was all of a sudden, you're dealing with a different set of people. So And we felt that on one hand, we have nothing against her, but let's be fair and transparent. Your firm is helping Social Security to get the hotels. And then on the other hand, you are trying to devalue and make issue of our receiver fees on those hotels. So we felt it was a conflict of interest. And to be honest, if those fees were going to their practices, the lead counsel and the commissioners, it would not have been an issue. And not to discredit them, I don't see them doing a better job on those hotels than the way we did it. So, but we felt, because she could have excused herself, but she was not fair with us. We have nothing against her. But she was leading the meeting, it was a cold meeting, the commissioners just kind of like, just stick to the corner and kept quiet, they didn't say much. And then, and making fuss about our fees when your own firm, at the same time, is trying to get the hotels to another party. So we felt it was a conflict of interest and it was not fair. And those are the facts. But I remember it was a very cold meeting. After the meeting, immediately after the meeting, even before we left the hotel, my father and I, we made the conclusion, yes, we need to resign. Then we consulted with lawyers, people in the government we know, and then they told us, just be patient, it's almost coming to an end. If you resign and take this matter to the Court of Appeal or Supreme Court, it could just derail. And the evidence was on our side as well. We were not just making verbal comments. But this conflict of interest came because, on one side, your firm is trying to get the hotels to another party. On the other side, you're trying to attack the receiver on his fees. That is a conflict of interest, and it was not fair to us. And she knows who we are and the profile of our family and the firm. So that's why it was in the letter. Basically, this letter was stating all our points, so that in the event it goes to court, the defense is already set, even before we talk about affidavit. And we believe we were very fair to everybody, but if you're attacking us, we have to defend ourselves.
All right. So, as we are talking about the Jammeh Commission's lead counsel's firm, you had mentioned that you received letters from Social Security. Were these letters specifically from Social Security itself, or was it from the Social Security's counsel? The
first letter was from Social Security, copying the AG, I believe, and the council.
Okay.
Ami Bensouda and Co.
Okay.
Because at that point, they were counseling Social Security. But for the case at the Jammeh Commission, the motion they put in to compel the receiver, that was handled by Abdullah Sissoho, not the lead counsel's firm. But in the initial stages, the letter from Social Security requesting us to terminate the lease, which was wrong, it copied the firm of the going to for special privileges, but just to be fair, and they were not fair. But we stood our ground and did what we had to do.
All right. So you've mentioned that Social Security was represented at the commission by
Abdullah Sissoho.
All right, Council Sissoho.
Yes.
AP was represented by Bandarabe Law Chambers.
Jibril Bah, yes.
Yes. Did any official from AP also attend this particular hearing?
I was there.
Okay, you were there.
I was there. I can't recall. I was there.
Okay, you were there. And then this
I was also at High Court litigation sometimes, if my schedule allowed it.
Okay.
But mostly the lawyer will handle it.
All right.
Yeah.
So on this particular day at the commission, that you were present with your lawyer there, the commissioners were present at the hearing. Who was counsel for the commission on that day?
To be honest, I can't recall.
You cannot recall.
But I know that it was the chairman, Yahya Jammeh, that was presiding.
Okay.
And then Social Security was represented by Abdullah Sissoho, who put a motion for the Jammeh Commission to compel the receiver, Augustus Prom firm, to release the hotels. Whilst at the same time, Social Security has the case at the High Court and Court of Appeal. So the chairman turned it down. That I don't remember the exact legal terms, but that he mentioned he has no legal jurisdiction to effect that release. So basically, legally, our hands were tied. We could not release those hotels. There was no way legally, unless we wanted to break the law, and we were not going to do that.
Mr. Prom,
Yes.
so still on this day of hearing at the commission,
Yes.
You've mentioned that you can't fully recall whether the commission had counsel there, but you're certain that the chair was present.
Yes.
Were the other commissioners present?
I'll be honest, I can't recall, but I do remember the chair was there and he was proceeding, and he made the final decision to block the motion from Social Security. Our lawyer was there, I was there, the Social Security's lawyer was there, but who else was, there were other people there. It was a proper legal proceeding, or whatever terminology you want to use. It wasn't like a private case. It was, as they have in the High Court, all the elements were present, but I don't remember everybody else that was there.
All right. So you've mentioned that you had, is it a field notebook that you carry around and
Yes.
keep notes?
Yes.
Do you remember keeping notes on this day?
I should.
You should.
Yeah, for the receivership, I personally, others had their field books. I had about 2 to 3.
Okay.
Where I was jotting field issues, observations, and meeting notes.
All right.
Yeah.
So when you get back, Honorable Chair, I would apply that the witness has already promised to give submit documents as he keeps finding them to the committee, and has given a self-imposed deadline of Friday. So
You can give me more time.
so
I think Friday is reasonable. But
all right,
to be honest, there are many records.
Okay.
And we have to compile. But we're targeting Friday to.
He has mentioned several times notes that he has taken. So if these notes and minutes can just be part of the documents that the witness will submit to the committee.
Very well, very well. That's fine.
All right, thank you very much. So, Mr. Prom, I had earlier asked about the date of the meeting, and
Sorry, the last meeting with the commission.
yes, the meeting that gave rise to a letter from the commission,
Yeah.
and then eventually
It was
this reply that we
actually
were-
our last meeting with the commission.
yes, that we were going through. And part of your submissions, you've submitted the letter in which you responded to that we were going through, and it states here, so I'm just going to state for the record that the meeting was on Monday, 4th February 2019.
Yes, it was in February. Early
All right.
February, yeah.
Great. Honorable Chair, these are all the questions I have for the witness.
Thank you so much, Counsel. It's been a long day, Mr. Prom. Right. We will still have to proceed with the proceedings. The committee also is sitting here, and I know a lot more questions will be coming for clarification, so you can get prepared more. So before I hand it over to my colleagues, perhaps I just wanted to ask one
Okay.
question, just for clarification or to elaborate more on that.
Okay.
When you were testifying, you said the August AP do not have executive support. So could you can you elaborate on that a bit more for us to understand what kind of support we're talking about?
Are you referring to KGI and Canal funds?
That was exactly what the question was, and then you mentioned that AP do not have executive support.
No, I mean, the executive support is not for us, because as a receiver, we're between the AG, former AG, and the president. So even if the former president was to give us executive support, we couldn't accept it. It will taint the neutrality and the independence. But what I meant was, during his time, these companies had executive support in terms of inventory. For example, cattle for the butcher shop, flour for the bakery. So that gave them some level of financial leverage. Now, when the change of government happened and this executive support was no longer there, it affected the company's financial performance. And then, not to mention debtors as well. KGI had a lot of people that owed the company money. I think it was 80 million. And the record showed that even the former president set up a task force to pursue some of these debtors, and it was not even successful, so let alone a receiver. So we had our lawyer contacting the debtors, trying to claim back at least 50 million, which will give the company more funding to stabilize and operate. But most debtors were not responding. You know, if they are not responding to the former president, then the receiver, you know, but we made effort to collect. But what I mean in terms of like financial support, inventory support, that made a big difference for these companies.
I'll start with Mali first, and I'll come. You don't have a question? Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
I'm inviting myself, Chair.
Hold on.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, thank you.
for coming and also.
Can I just come there before you go? Okay, I take that. All right. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Chair. I will make sure that I just limit myself to the prescribed time. Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
if I should ask, why is it that the evidence you submitted before us are not signed?
Which one? Which documents?
Just a minute. If you look at the Receivership Report, Volume 1,
Yes.
yes, one of the letters one of the letters from the receiver Augustus Prom.
Yes.
It's not been signed. If you look at from number 2 down to number 10.
Okay, you mean page 10?
Yes, page 10.
Yeah, you know, like I said earlier, all these records are coming from our electronic archives. But we'll send you, now that I've resumed, we'll send you the signed copies.
So just for clarity,
This was the actual report.
no, comfort yourself and just allow me to speak, please.
Okay.
Just for us to be at the same level,
Yes.
will it be accurate to say the documents that we have before us submitted by you
Yes.
are not signed, we can accept them as they are, and then later you will sign?
Yes, we will send you a copy of the signed copies. Yeah, because this is coming from the electronic archives. So they printed and just submitted. And we also had a short time frame to respond by Friday, I think 25th July.
Yeah,
But I can assure you, this is the actual report that was submitted.
So if I should come in here, you have documents that are signed that were submitted to the Minister of Justice or Jammeh Commission?
In terms of these reports?
Yes.
Yes, when it was going, it was signed.
Just signed.
Yes.
Okay.
But you know, this engagement was 6 years ago. All the documents we submitted to this committee is electronic
fine.
at this point.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Now we can go ahead. Then later
Yeah.
we can have signed copies. But these documents are true copies of.
Yes, exactly. They are true copies
That's
of
fine.
reports sent to the High Court and AG.
All right.
Yeah.
We take it as you will sign later. That one.
yes. Mr. Lewis, what also make Augustus Prom's company that special to have an edge over other receivers to an extent that the whole contract was kind of negotiated without the right approach by making an advert and also giving every other Gambian that equal opportunity to apply?
Well, starting point, I don't believe there are too many firms offering receivership services. Two, I believe the responsibility of the tender process will be that of the firm AG. But from what we were informed, they have in file the profiles of the companies or firms that are doing receivership. And because, you know, we are one of the oldest firms in Gambia, we've been doing receivership engagements for the government and the High Court, also in terms of our level of integrity. So I believe that gave us an edge. But why exactly we were selected instead of another firm or two, that is for the former AG to confirm. But as far as our profile and experience and our integrity, we just don't handle, we handle sensitive financial matters for the government, for the status projects. So our profile was solid for this engagement.
You have talked about integrity, Mr. Luis.
Yes.
And also listening to your testimony, you have repeatedly said that it seems the ministry were not just fair to you in terms of the way the whole contract was handled and the kind of approach being used. Don't you think it all emerged from the start of things by single-handedly selecting Augustus Prom to lead the whole process?
No. I think
Can you please speak over the mic?
Yes.
And be a bit comfort,
No, don't
calm down.
I have answers for your question. I'm calm. I'm confident with the way you handle the engagement. Because, sorry, could you clarify the question just so that I can answer you better?
My question is, listening from your testimony,
Yes.
you did advance that there have been a lot of abnormalities from the office of the lead counsel, going to the Ministry of Justice, specifically, let's say the minister,
Yes.
and all not. Don't you think the reason behind those authorities playing around you or the entire contract emerged from the way and manner that you were selected as a receiver?
No, I don't think so. I think the issues emanated because of the independence approach we took. The issue started when the claims started coming in. We didn't get support. We brought in our own lawyer who was doing a good job, and they criticized the fees, both the former AG and the Jammeh Commission. And then, well, whether they wanted, I cannot speak on their behalf, whether they wanted an independent leadership, receivership, or a checklist receivership. But I think the issues emanated mainly because the approach we took. Like I said, in this insolvency industry, you have to give an ear to all the parties. But at the end of the day, you have to make the decision, what the companies are called a commercially reasonable decision. So the issue was not our selection. We have the profile and the history, but I think it emanated when we started to make certain independent decisions that we felt was the right one and will protect the firm.
Okay, now I will also take you on the evidence that you shared with this committee.
Okay.
And I want us to look at a report that you shared, which is the summons to produce special select committee inquiry into the Jammeh Commission.
Yes.
These were evidence that you actually shared with us.
Yes.
If you look at page 2 of the evidence, I just want to ask you a few names,
Okay.
if you know them, and what responsibility they held, either within the commission, the Ministry of Justice, or whatever. What kind of players were they? One would be Mr. Mustafa Job. What comes to your mind if you hear that name?
He's a public auctioneer.
Public auctioneer.
He's a well-known public auctioneer.
Okay, stop there. What about Mr. Muntaha Sala? What comes to your mind?
He was a buyer at the public auction.
He was a buyer and a public auction.
No. He was a buyer at the Dunes public auction.
Okay, he was a buyer.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, what about Kara Abdullah Jammeh?
I can't recall him.
Can you guide us where you're reading from? Please. Please.
Sorry, Honorable Chair, it's from the document
Page 3.
Secretariat supplied with the committee with.
The last page.
It's the sale report.
Sales report, exactly. Okay, go ahead. I'm also seeing Mr. Job here.
Yes.
is he Mustafa Job, as the first name I call upon?
The auctioneer?
The auctioneer?
Yes.
Yes. So why does he appear here as Mr. Job? And on the other list, he appeared as Mustafa Job. Why? Do you know?
Which list are you trying to? Is it the sales report?
Yes, the sales report.
Well,
if you don't have a copy, I think they provide you a copy, because we might have a lot of back and forward around this specific report.
well, I'm not concerned because the sale was transparent and all the buyers were disclosed. It was.
No, you know, Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
the transparency of the sales might not be determined by you, more especially if it comes to the work of the Special Select Committee.
Yes.
So as such, we will more of appreciate, you know, those response than actually making a conclusion.
No, I'm not making a conclusion.
Of course, if you said the sales was transparent, you are making a conclusion that.
But to be honest, if you're trying to throw implication at me, I have to defend it.
No, I would never do that, Mr.
I can give
I would never do that.
implications I'll have to defend.
Sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis, you know what we'll do?
Yes.
He's asking questions.
Yes.
If you know the response, you just put a response to the question. Straightforward, okay?
Well, I don't recall, but as far as we're concerned, all the details we have on file was indicated in the sales report. And you also see the buyer's phone number, so feel free to call them to inquire. Each buyer was given a receipt with a sequential number bearing the firm's name.
Mr. Louis,
Yes.
my question is, Mr. Mustafa Job and Mr. Job,
Yes.
does that represent the same names?
I'm not sure, unless I make reference to file.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Mr. Louis, do you know anyone with the name Mr. Louis Prom?
Yeah, that's me.
That's you?
That's myself, yes.
So meaning you also bought?
Yes, on behalf of staff, yes. And it was disclosed, and it was a competitive price. But most importantly, it was disclosed.
Mr. Joe, what is your take having auctioneers and receivers buying some of these furnitures from Dunes Hotel?
Well, starting point, it doesn't violate any law. Second, taking into account, we prepared that report. We were transparent and we disclosed our interests. Third, if you look at our bid, we allowed the other buyers to bid. They were bigger and better paintings. There were a few staff on the ground that had interest in these smaller paintings, and I bid it on their behalf. They didn't have enough cash. But most importantly, it was disclosed, and the bid offer was fair, or competitive. We prepared the report. We could have just put any name we wanted to hide, but we didn't do that.
No, you answered my question. You don't have to elaborate that much.
No, I might have to. This is a public
for the purpose of fair trade or fair trading.
Yes.
Is this a good practice? Having players to serve as a referee or having referees to serve as a player?
Well, player and referee is not a court matter. It's a public auction. It was advertised. Our interest was disclosed. It doesn't violate any law, and our bid was competitive. You have to take into account, we prepared the report. If we had something to hide, we would have just put any other name, but some staff on the ground had interest in the paintings. We put in a fair bid. I think we put in the highest bid for that type of painting, and it was disclosed, most importantly. So it doesn't violate any law, as far as we're concerned. So I don't think the analogy of referee and
Mr. Louis
applies here.
Mr. Louis, for me,
yes,
I would have the feelings that it actually violates some laws for the reason that, let me just say this.
Okay.
For the simple reason that, for example, one serving as an auctioneer
yes,
or a valuer,
yes,
at the same time buying those materials, do you think the valuation that the individual is in fact making, one can rely on those figures in terms of making sales?
Well, I know the valuation was independently done. And like I said, the person doing the valuation, he didn't buy. Mr. Nyai, he was elder, he did the valuation. He was not part of the auction buyers.
Okay, give us his full name. Nyai?
Ibrahim Nyai.
Ibrahim Nyai. Okay.
He was elder, he was a respected valuer. And I think Mustafa Job had some interest, the auctioneer, and it was disclosed. That's what's important. But what's also important, before you bid, you allow the other parties to engage, and that was done.
Just to wrap up on this.
Yes.
You said, for example, Mustafa Job and yourself, you have disclosed your interest to buy
Most importantly, yes.
some of these furnitures,
No, paintings.
some of these paintings.
Yes.
In terms of making that disclosure,
Yes.
was it in written or you just made a verbal disclosure to register your interest?
No, receipts were issued, so it was an actual transaction.
I meant with the disclosure of interest. Was it in writing or just you verbally communicated to your colleagues that you were interested in buying those furnitures?
There is no legal requirement to have it in writing. I remember in the case of the paintings, they already put in a bid. And take into account, at the end of the auction, not everything could be sold. So we allowed the other buyers to engage.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
I take you back. You are the very one who said you have disclosed your interest
Yes.
to buy. My
In-
question,
in-
I'm not talking about legality
In the
or
sales report.
illegality.
In the sales report.
Yes,
Yeah.
my question is, when you were disclosing an interest to buy,
Yes.
did you make a written disclosure or how do you approach it?
Well, starting point, there is no legal requirement for written disclosure that I'm aware of. But no law was violated. It was transparent, it was disclosed, and it's in the report that was submitted to the Commission and the AG.
Mr. Lewis, rather. Sorry.
Yes.
I wouldn't waste time on this. I just also want us to look at the valuation of the furnitures,
Yes.
which you also submitted to us.
Yes.
You look at number one, you said set of mattresses and boards were sold at $55,000, which means 11 sets were sold, looking at the quantity,
Yes.
at $55K.
Yes.
So meaning the unit price was at $5,000.
Sorry, is this the valuation report or the sales report?
The valuation report.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I just want us to look at this against how much a mattress was sold.
Okay. Yes.
So now, since you in fact, initiated the question, I would ask, in between the evaluation of mattresses, just the mattresses, the 11 mattresses, and the sales you made,
Yes.
what was the difference and how much do you make?
Well, I'll need access to the sales report.
Because I want to know how you reach at that figure.
Well, the valuation is a benchmark. It's not binding.
I know,
It's guiding.
I know.
I cannot see the sales report. All I have here is the valuation report.
Okay.
If somebody could help me with the sales report.
Mr. Lewis, what we have on the sales report,
Wait, sorry. Yes, I have it. Go ahead.
okay, if you look at the sales report,
Yes.
you look at number 1 and number 2 by Muntaga Sala,
Yes,
against the record given to us.
yes,
The quantity here is 8 and 14. That is number 1 and number 2.
yes.
And if you look at the evaluation report, it only captures 11. 814 is giving us how much? 23? 22?
22, yes.
22.
Yes.
So why the variance? And also, looking at the records, okay, why the variance?
Well, it could have been a typo in the evaluator's report because it was independent valuation, so it could have been a typo. But the sales report is the final report and it takes into account what was sold.
Will that not be intentional from,
No, I don't think so.
you don't think so?
No, not because he's an elder, he's a respected elder.
Yeah,
And importantly,
Here we
he was
don't
not part
count
of
age.
auction.
Point of correction, we don't count age. Some of us here seated, some of the people who voted for us
Yes.
are elderly.
So,
Very, very elderly. So for me, sometimes, to be honest with you, with this responsibility, I always rule out age. For so many reasons.
I don't understand. So, are you
What I want you to understand is,
Yes.
as much as that person might be an elderly person,
Yes.
the people who elected us into office might be equally older than him.
Okay.
This is what I mean. So as such, also see us as people maybe who are in fact older than him, for the fact that the people who voted us in office are also elderly.
Okay, but what I'm trying to say, you know, an elder will have more experience and tend to have more integrity. It's not just anybody doing the...
So you are tempting the young people like yourself?
No, I'm not... You're putting me in a tricky spot. No, that's not what I mean. But what I'm saying is the valuator didn't take part in the sales, and he's a respected elder that has been doing this for decades. He's a credible person. That's what I'm trying to emphasize. And he could have made a typo, but the sales report discloses the final outcome.
Okay.
Yes.
That is very clear. I want us to look at KGI.
Yes.
You have talked about a 5 million stock at KGI, right?
Sorry, for with what type of inventory or?
In one of your...
Oh, sorry, shares.
Yes.
Citibank shares, yes, about 4.7 million.
4.7 million.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about the shares and where the monies are, if possible?
Yes, well, when we took over, we found out that it had investments in GT Bank, in shares, but those shares were not sold during our engagement. Even though the High Court order gave us authority to sell, but we didn't sell those shares. And those shares were part of the assets we handed over. But from our side, it was not sold.
Mr. Lewis,
yes.
In January 2017, you stated that millions were withdrawn from the KGI account.
Yes, for?
No, you only said millions were withdrawn.
Well, in what context? Because there were many transactions, so just to...
This is why I want to know.
If you could pinpoint which document or which section, so I can know the context. You're talking about a lot of transactions.
Let's look at your statement.
Okay. You mean my witness statement?
Yes, your witness statement. Somewhere you talked about either your witness statement, somewhere you... No, just wait. Okay, let's... Okay, to make it easy, let's look at the receiver report, volume 1, number 9. Number 9 is indicated on my book.
Sorry.
Volume 1.
Page 9, sorry?
Page 9, exactly, sir. Yes, KGI International Limited is the heading. Page 9 of the KGI. You have attachment 2. Attachment 2. Page 9 of attachment 2.
Yes, I'm guessing.
It should be around 2/3 way, or 1/3 way rather.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, if you look at the last paragraph, you said, I also noted large withdrawals, millions of dollars in January 2017 from the company's bank accounts.
Yes.
Yes, I think the committee will be interested to understand the exact amount that was withdrawn, and if you know those that are responsible for that withdrawal.
Sorry, you said January 2017.
It says in January 2017.
Yes, you know, the receivership came into effect in May 2017. So this was before we took over. So I'll have to make reference to file to determine and get back to you.
Yeah, we will.
But I must emphasize, this was before the receivership started. So it's possible it was used to pay suppliers or creditors, I'm not sure, but I can check files and get back to you because KGI had many transactions. But January 2017 was before the receivership started.
Yeah,
I can check our files.
I'm asking simply because
Yes.
it comes from your end, from the documents you shared with us.
Yes.
So I feel you are the right person to give answers in respect
Yes.
to this withdrawal.
Yes, we'll look into it and get the answer.
Please, we will appreciate that.
But it's, to be honest, I don't want to speculate.
And to make it easy, not to make it easy for you, I want to apply through the chairperson
Okay.
for you to tender information regarding this millions of dollars withdrawal from the company's bank account on or before Friday,
Yes.
12 noon.
Well, like I said, this was before the receivership, but we'll check our files.
No, but it comes from your records.
Yes.
Let's get that right. So as such,
If we write it in the report, then that is what happened. Maybe it was in the bank statement, XX withdrawal, and there is no details to it. But it's possible there's an explanation for this.
yes, Miss, you
Yes.
capture it simply because you have an information about it.
Yes. No, we'll look into it.
So
We'll
as
look-
such, yeah, this is why I'm applying with the chairperson
Yes.
for me to get that from you
Okay.
on or before Friday at 12 p.m.
Yes, we'll check our records. If it's traceable, we'll definitely give it to you.
Yeah, you know, Mr. Lewis, me, I have a lot of questions for you, but I'm withdrawing them slowly. Chair, just not to waste the time.
But I want to emphasize, this withdrawal was in January 2017 before we took over the company in May. That's very important to clarify.
Okay,
We'll check our records.
don't worry, Mr. Lewis, now I will ask you about a money
Yes.
that you have direct hand in.
Okay,
That is with regards to Ozone Bay.
okay.
You have talked about a 20 million renovation initiative that you undertook
Yes,
whilst you were a receiver.
yes.
Where do you get this, sorry, before in fact whilst you were a receiver, but from the income that the hotel generated
Yes.
whilst you were managing it, or your company was managing it, if I should put it?
The firm was managing it.
When the firm was managing it, so let me not just put things
No, it's
to you, that wouldn't be fair.
It's okay.
This 20 million
Yes.
that you spend to renovate Ozone Bay, how do you read that decision?
Well, the 20 million was financed from the company's proceeds. It was not a loan or any windfall funds. And
You say company, that is KGI?
No,
or
the hotels, the hotels.
The hotel, good.
the hotels were very profitable. So from that profit, and when we came, we realized that it needed a new generator, it needed new furniture, new equipment, some rooms needed new AC. So it was a management decision that since the hotels were profitable, to renovate, and it needed renovation because the renovation adds value, and then you can charge the tour operators more.
Mr. Lewis, you said it was a management decision.
Yes.
Do you have minutes of meeting or a correspondence from the management that authorize for the spending of 20 million for renovation?
It should be in file, yes.
Kindly provide that as well, Honorable Chair. I want to apply
That's fine.
he share that with us, and if possible, receipts of expenditure in relation to the 20 million.
If you find it in file, we'll give it to you.
Please, if you find it, give it to us. If you don't find it, report back to say, I don't find it.
Yes.
Because it's almost becoming an order from the chair or from the committee.
Yeah, but you have to take into account, this was over 6 years ago, so, but we'll check our files. If you find it, we'll definitely present it. But, but it was transparent.
Mr. Lewis, the year doesn't matter. When we were actually executing some of these responsibilities,
Yes.
it was also supposed to be at the back of our mind that a day like this will come. As such,
Yes.
we should be well prepared in the execution of our duties wherein if one is asked to produce either evidence A or B, you can be in a position to produce. But the excuse of it has been 7-8 years, I don't think this committee can accept such.
Well, it's not an excuse, because one, the Companies Act requires companies to keep records for 6 years. We're not using that as an excuse. Taking into account, we also at some point moved office. And the hotels had a lot of files. Some files were left at the hotels because we couldn't accommodate all the files in our office. So, but we'll look for it. If we trace it, we'll definitely submit it.
Mr. Lee.
But it was a proper evaluation, and
Mr. Lee, now I'm speaking.
If you visit the hotels, you'll see for yourself.
No, I know that hotel. I have a tourism background.
Okay, good.
I know that hotel well before I become a parliamentarian.
Okay.
Mr. Lee, maybe a very final one.
Okay.
In one of the documents that you submitted,
Yes.
you said KFF is a large company with properties.
Yes.
Tell us the exact location and condition of these properties, totaling to 57 properties as alluded in page 11 in the Receiver's report.
Is it volume 1?
It should be volume 1, I assume. Receiver's report.
You want to know the locations of the properties?
Every other Gambian want to know all of these properties, where they are located. Maybe, in fact, the house I occupy belongs to the former president.
You know, the High Court order, Annex 1, it has the list of properties and the lease numbers. So that was the basis, and we were also requesting the lease copies from the Registrar General. We ended up with about 3 to 4, including the one for Dooms. But we have correspondences. We were following up on these lease documents, and we couldn't get much help to that effect. But we have about 2 to 3, including Dooms. But as far as these properties are concerned, if you look at Annex 1 of the High Court order, it has a list of a lot of properties, and the lease, and I believe locations and lease numbers.
No, Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
you know the issue here is almost all that we are asking you.
Yes.
We have the information.
Yes.
Either from you, from the Commission, from the Ministry of Justice,
Yes.
you name it.
Yes.
But whilst investigations are going,
Yes.
we are also interested to know what information do witnesses hold.
Yes, I understand.
And as such, about 57 properties were under your firm's custody as a receiver.
It was not under our custody.
It was under whose custody?
The properties under our custody was the abattoir, the KGI Futurec building, and the KGI retail complex opposite Franco Alliance, and the KGI retail complex at the traffic light, and then BPI tourism. But in terms of property custody, most of the properties were under the custody of the Registrar General, and we have correspondence in file, many following up for these leases to determine the basis and location. So we didn't have 57 properties under our custody, just to clarify.
Yeah, but you reported somewhere 57 properties.
Sorry, could you please, which page again on the KFF? So
It should be on page 11, the receiver's report. Yeah, no, that will be my final one.
I'm not seeing it on the page 11. Is it the first paragraph or KFF?
Now, I found it on this one. Look at the volume 2.
Okay. I don't have volume 2 with me.
You don't provide me with volume 2, please, Counsel.
Yes, Honorable.
And you look at the second paragraph on volume 2. And you can read.
Sorry, which page again?
Page 11 on volume 2.
The 57 properties is referring to Annex 1 of the High Court order. The High Court order listed all the properties.
So,
But they were not under our custody.
okay.
Most of the properties were under the custody of the Registrar General.
And this 57, you haven't played any role in these properties.
No, the properties that were under our custody was the abattoir, Futurec building, KGI had 2 retail sites on Kerava Avenue, and then the hotels.
And then
Synindola, which was subleased. The warehouse at the airport holding Westwood and MCG, that was on the GAPA, and GAPA was claiming 10 million. But because of the legal status, they allowed the assets to be stored there. But we didn't have 57 properties under our custody.
You didn't have.
This is referring to Annex 1 of the
No,
report.
I get you. Thank you for that clarity.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, no longer Jebula. I want to ask you about Bensouda.
No, no, but please, no, please.
My colleagues will take it.
Okay.
Just one more thing before I get to Honorable Fofana. You
Yes.
take note of the request for the document that you're supposed to
Yes,
provide?
yes,
Huh?
yes.
Exactly, yes.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Louis.
Yes.
I will not be having much questions for you. I just want us to set a background. The 17 companies that you were managing,
Yes.
were you eventually able to do a valuation of their assets?
No, because you know our engagement was to manage, not sell. So we didn't do valuation on the land. Only valuation we did was from what I recall, was for Dunes, the auction. But as far as the properties that were under our custody, we didn't do a valuation because our engagement was not to sell. So we didn't effect valuations.
But were you at any moment in time able to establish, a capital assets register for them, taking into inventory everything they owe?
We took inventory, and then also, for example, companies like KGI, there's a balance sheet. In the balance sheet, you have fixed assets, and there's a note to that effect. It will give you land and building, vehicles. So that will give you an indication of the valuation. So, but we didn't do any valuation for the properties because it was not our engagement to sell. But in file, you could see some indication in terms of the valuation. Only valuations I recall was for the Dunes auction, which was done by Make Services, Mr. Nyai.
Yeah, it will be important to know, even if at all it's going to be their historic cost.
Yes,
During the time you were there as the receiver,
yes,
or let's say this, let's put it at the tail end.
yes.
At the end of your receivership, were you able to establish even the historic cost of those companies that were with you with regards to the assets they were having?
We did inventory at the closing. Certain assets, we have to rely on what's on file. If there's a fixed asset register and balance sheet, certain assets, we could access the invoices or receipts. That will give you an idea of the acquisition cost. And then, you apply depreciation, apply the net book value. But it was not our mandate to do a valuation which was going to support a sale because we were just temporary managers. But certain companies, based on records in file, we had an indication of what the value are. For example, KGI, it was audited. There's a balance sheet. It will give you indication of what the value of the company is. BPI Tourism as well. Certain companies, we have no records to make reference in terms of valuation. Even Dunes, normally, even when we hire a valuation company, we do our own valuation. That is, if we have access to invoices or receipts that tell you the acquisition cost. So we have a software, fixed asset software. We'll do our own valuation if the information is there, and then we compare it to what the valuation firm is giving us. In most cases, the variance is not much. But it depends on how much information we can access. But normally, if we have access to the receipts and invoices, we can do our own internal valuation. But land and buildings, normally you need a quantity surveyor. We will hire Spinks or Francis Jones, or sometimes we'll use both of them and do interpolation and find an average. But sometimes the variances are not much.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Louis, I think we'll agree on this.
Yes.
You had powers, huh? You are not only a receiver, but you are the receiver manager, right?
Yes.
So, as such, when you assume that role, the first thing you will have to look at will be the liquidity of the company, not so?
Yes, the
How
cash flow.
liquid they
The
are,
cash flow, yes.
how
yes,
solvent they
yes,
are.
Yes, that's true.
So, as such, you must have an idea as to what you are managing.
Yes,
Am I right?
Yes.
So this is exactly what I'm asking you. When you were starting, what was the fair value of these assets, these properties, or these businesses?
Well, each company is different, and to put reliance, it depends on the information. Normally when you take over, you request the statement of affairs. The directors have 14 days to respond to you in line with the Companies Act. So that is your starting point. And normally the first month we do due diligence based on the records we can access. So it falls on how much information we can access to make a decision that, okay, this is the estimated value. For example, Westwood, the timber equipment, I believe there were some invoices in file that estimated it around $400,000. So as part of the due diligence, we do look into the valuation. But now, whether we did a valuation for land and buildings and properties, we didn't do that because our engagement was not to sell. But we placed reliance on the information we found on the ground. So.
Yes, because why I'm asking this is, I've gone through the report.
Yes.
But most of the list of assets I've seen will just be the list, but there are no values attached to them.
Yes. You mean the inventories?
Yes, the inventories.
Yes.
So what I would like to ask is, if at all you can help the committee with the fair value assessment you had at the beginning of your engagement and at the end as well.
Okay.
Do you have that information?
Well, I'll have to check files. Yes, we'll have to check the files.
Because there are 3 companies you stated that
were active.
Yes. That they were active and they do have assets.
Yes, and there were balance sheets to that effect.
Perfect.
It gives you indication of the value.
Thank you.
Yes.
So it will be very important if at all we can have those values at the beginning of your engagement.
Yes.
And at the end of your engagement as well. From there, the next point I want to pick you on will be on the claims.
Yes.
With regards to the claims, I would refer you to, let's go to page 7. Page 7 of the Receiverhip report, volume 1.
Okay. Is it KFF?
Yes. No, let's start with social security.
Okay.
The social security, I will just read the last sentence, which says it was at litigation stage. Can you update the committee what was the final verdict of the court?
Sorry, you said page 7?
Page 7, yes.
Is it Social Security regarding the water tank, 3.95 million?
No, I'm starting with the first one, 10 million plus interest of 2.795. Have you seen it? The first one, page 7.
You have banking, then, okay, you have Gambia Revenue Authority, 75 million?
No, I'm on page 7. This report, that is the Receiverhip report, volume 1.
Okay, on the KFF, right? You have different companies. No, this is a high court.
If I can help you. Okay.
It's not.
Have you seen it, Mr. Ray?
In volume 1, you have the executive summary.
Yes.
And then each company had its own attachment. So I believe it's the executive summary.
No, I'm not on the executive summary. This is the Receiverhip report, volume 1, High Court suit number. You have it?
Yes. No, I can see it now. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Page 7.
They're different reports, yes.
No, just at page 7.
Yes, I see it.
The first one, I'm saying I will just read the last sentence there.
Okay.
As at the time of your reporting, it was at litigation stage.
Yes.
What was the outcome?
Well, from what I recall, when we were handing over in June 2019, the litigations were still ongoing. So I believe it was taken over by the new receiver trustee.
New receiver trustee.
Yes.
And you didn't know what was the final verdict of the court?
For Social Security and no, not for this claim, no.
What about the second claim, which was a claim of 6.4 million and an interest of 3.95? That one also was at litigation stage. Did you know the final verdict?
I can't recall, but I know there was one litigation that was thrown out. I can't remember which one, but I know most of the litigations were ongoing when we were handing over. But there was one litigation, I'll have to make reference to the legal file. It was against the receivership, but the High Court dismissed it. But I don't remember which one exactly. But from what I recall, most of the litigations were ongoing. I think some might be still ongoing up to now, when we were handing over. But
So you can't remember whether, you can't remember among the two which one is it?
No,
Maybe
unless I make reference to volume 2, which updated the litigation status. If you look at volume 2, there was a litigation status update page. But I do recall one of the cases was
I want you to
dismissed.
stay on page 1. Maybe I would help you to recall. What we will do now is just move forward. You will realize that you will have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Just keep turning the pages.
On claims.
Yes.
Yes.
After that, it will start all over again. From 1, 2, 3. Are you saying it?
Yes.
For that one, go to page 7.
Okay, I'm on page 7.
You're on page 7.
Yes.
Let's look at the social security there.
Okay.
And perhaps after reading this, it might help to know whether this one was the one which was thrown out or not.
Okay, go ahead.
Or perhaps you can help us read it. Just read it for us.
The first one?
Yeah, the first one.
Social Security, care of Amibensuda and Co. legal firm claiming $10 million, interest of $2.7 million from KGI.
No, sorry, not that one. Not that one. Are you on the exact page 7 I'm talking about?
Give me 1 minute, please.
Perfect. Yes. You should be there now.
Okay,
Yes.
Page 7.
Yes.
You want me to read it out?
Please.
Okay, Social Security Housing Finance Corporation, care of Amibensuda and Co. legal firm claiming $6.432 million plus interest of $3.95 million from Kanalai Woni Family Farms for unpaid loan from August 2011. The supporting documents attached with motions of notice as received from the High Court dated 5th July 2017 indicates the loan was for financing of a pressed steel coal water tank with 1,027,000 liters for Kanalai Farms, supplied from, I think, Braithwaite, a UK a company in South Wales. The supporting documents enclosed with the notice did not comprise of any documents or knowledge from the management of Kanalai Farms. And the funds for the loans were received in cash by Mr. Amadou Samba of Gassem.
You can stop there. Was this the case thrown out or not?
I'll have to make reference, but I do know one of the cases was thrown out.
Okay, my question here is,
Yes.
You said the supportive documents enclosed with the notice. Who sent you the notice?
I believe it was from the Social Security's lawyer, if I recall
To be
correctly.
specific?
Bensuda and Co.
Bensuda and Co.
Because when they were filing claims against the receivership, they had to send us copies of the motions and yes.
You said the supportive documents enclosed with the notice did not comprise of any documents or acknowledgements from the managing director of Kanilai Farms.
Yes.
Which means Kanilai Farms, as at this time, they were saying that there was no proof
Yes.
or any evidence to substantiate that they took this loan.
Yes.
But funnily enough, there are traces or evidence to indicate that the amounts were taken by who?
It indicates Mr. Amadou Samba.
Mr. Amadou Samba.
Yes. Yes.
What was did you have any challenge with regards to this case?
No, our lawyer was defending the receivership at the High Court. But I'll make reference, I think in volume 2, in the litigation status, it mentioned which case was dismissed. One of the Social Security cases, I believe, was dismissed. It could be this one, but I don't remember offhand unless I make reference.
And when did this case start? Was it before January 2017 or after January 2017?
No, this was in July 2017.
This was in July?
Motion received July 2017. This was just after the receivership started in May.
This was after the receivership started?
In May, yes.
And eventually this was after President Jammeh also have left?
Yes.
Altogether?
Yes, well, I believe he left in January 2017.
He left in January?
And the receivership and the frozen orders took effect from May 2017.
So what I want to understand is,
yes,
when you were receiving these claims,
yes,
from different parties,
yes,
were you having challenges?
Well, we had to act fast in terms of putting a legal defense. But I do recall, I don't recall which one specifically, but there were certain motions that came and it didn't give us time. So I mentioned earlier, certain weekends, we had to walk over the weekends with the lawyer, prepare the motion defense and affidavit so that we can respond on time. Otherwise, we would have lost the case. So, but there were different litigations, for different companies, different assets. But what's important, we put up a defense, and some of these cases we were winning.
So during this time,
Yes.
were you working alone in trying to defend your case as the receiver, or you were having support from the commission together with the ministry?
No, we had no support because, you know, when the receivership started, it was advertised in the papers, and we had a pipeline of claims. So we took the matter to the AG that we had concerns because these companies, their financial status cannot handle these claims. But there was not much support. We even had to contact the justice, the Chief Justice on these concerns, and he said, you know, he sympathized, but he couldn't interfere or help. Because, you know, you have assets frozen at the High Court, and then you have parties also claiming against the receivership at the High Court. I think that was one of the bases. One of the motions was this against the receivership was dismissed, which was a solid reason. But the major challenges we had in the beginning, there were many claims coming. We didn't have enough support. Then we had our own lawyer. But then even in the lawyer, he got frustrated. We had difficulties because they were making fuss about his fees, and his fees were very reasonable because knowing what lawyers would charge just for one of these properties would have exceeded his total fee. He even had to give a discount of 1.52 million. So our lawyer too was frustrated, but you know, it was a very tricky situation. But what's important, we were defending these assets from being negligent or from these assets being claimed by third parties. And we did that until we handed over.
Okay, let's go back to the initial page 7.
Yes.
Then I would ask you a final question, putting all the cases together. Are we there?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Can you read that case for us?
Sorry, which case?
That is Hanabi Silla of Future Like.
Yes, Hanabi Silla of Future Gambia Limited, care of Ahmed Bensouda and Co. legal firm, claiming from KGI International the Future Like property at Burtle Harding Highway, Kotu, serial registration number K106-2004. They are also claiming the associated rental income from the property dating back to 25th August 2011. This property is claimed to be valued over $100 million. It's at litigation stage.
Did you know the final verdict of that case?
The motion was dismissed by the court, so we won that case, but I believe they took it to the Court of Appeal.
They won that case?
We won that case,
They
yes.
won that case?
Yeah, because the property was first mortgaged.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't keep up with the mortgage. The bank took it over. The former president bought it. So I believe the final decision of the High Court was, but I remember all the legal wording, but this was one case that was dismissed. They lost the case and it went to Court of Appeal.
Mr. Luel,
yes.
You cited 3 cases. The first one, which is $10 million, is plus interest of 2.795 by Social Security.
Yes.
And the firm that was representing them was Ahmed Bensouda and Co.
Yes.
The second one is 6.4 million plus interest of 3.95.
Yes.
This one also by Social Security.
Yes.
The firm representing them was Ahmed Bensouda and Co. And the third one is Hanabi Silla of Future Like.
Yes.
Altogether, who is making a claim of $100 million.
Yes.
And again, the legal firm representing them is Ahmed Bensouda and Co.
Yes.
And Ahmed Bensouda happens to be at the commission by them.
Yes.
Did that pose any challenge to your work?
Well, I think the only issue we had with her was towards the end regarding the receivership of the hotels. Because we believe if your firm is trying to claim the hotels for your client, then you are not in a position to tell the receiver what fee to be paid. That is the responsibility of the commissioners, or you assign another counsel to take it up. But we felt there was some conflict of interest, you know, and in the end, the record showed they were not fair to us.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now I'll look on my right. Sir.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Prom. Mr. Prom, just to start with, when it comes to the assets that you receive,
Yes.
can you give me the total value of those assets?
For all the 20 companies?
The one you receive here.
We'll have to compile that.
You have to compile it?
Yes, we'll have to compile it.
So I'll be interested to have that, the assets that you receive.
Yeah.
And the other thing also, you always make mention of obstacles or challenges that you had during your process.
Yes.
Can you please elaborate on the legal or political obstacle that you had?
Well, taking into account the context of things at that time, there's a new government, the former president had left. So, as a receiver, you have to be independent. You're between the former AG and the former president. So it's a very tricky and sensitive line but you have to give both sides an ear, they call it. So, but there were challenges, in terms of the hotels. There was pressure to transfer, but there was no legal option. There were challenges in terms of we had, claims and debts totaling almost $1 billion. We had 5 to 6 litigations at the courts. So, well, in terms of political challenges, well, it's not on record, but there were 2 political persons that were interested in the abattoir. They came to the office. I can't recall their name, to be honest. We told them to write, abattoir is not for sale. I remember the wording was, we were part of the coalition, we have nothing, so-and-so is minister, so-and-so is this. So we told them, we have to be fair and diplomatic. We told them, abattoir is not for sale, but send us a letter, and we never heard from them. And to be honest, I can't recall the name, but they did mention the. So the matter was political, it was sovereign, it was state, it was legal, it was financial. So you have many tricky variables we had to juggle and manage. But our main challenges was the claims, the litigations, and the DPI tourism, and also security challenges as well, because the former IG could not give us support for all the locations, so we had to use private security. So those were the main challenges we were facing.
Yeah, Mr. Prom, you mentioned that people came to apply, especially the abattoir, and then you were pressurized to transfer the hotels.
Yes.
Where was this pressure coming from?
Well, the hotels, Social Security wrote that we should cancel the lease and transfer because they knew tour operators interested offering more money, and there was no legal option. So there was pressure to that effect, and the former AG also wanted us to transfer the hotel to Social Security. He wrote a letter saying we shouldn't object, but that was not right. So we put up a defense, and well, those are the major challenges I can recall.
What was the former AG?
The former AG at that time, Abu Bakar Batambiru.
What was the former AG?
During our receivership engagement.
Among the pressurizing you to do the transfer of the hotel?
Yeah, because his justification was the tour operator that's interested is planning to do major investments in Gambia, and the OIC is coming. So, as a result, they wanted us, it was in writing, requested us to release the hotels to Social Security, but we couldn't. It was frozen by the General Commission, High Court orders, and also there was a management contract. If there was an option, safe one, we would have done it, but we couldn't.
So maybe it was illegal?
Yes, it would have been contempt of the court, contempt of the General Commission, and also conflict with the current management contract already found in place.
So like a trained lawyer pushing you to transfer something that was illegal?
Well, I will not say pushing, but there was pressure.
Yeah, that was the pressure. The pressure was for you to transfer.
And if there was a safe option,
you said no.
Yes.
But when you said yes, what would have happened?
Well, if we had accepted,
exactly,
it would have been illegal.
Yes.
They would have got the hotels through the back door.
Exactly.
And then we will be faced with the legal risk.
Exactly.
And the claim would have been very high.
Exactly. So like you said no because it was illegal.
It was illegal and risky for us.
And then the other thing also I want to ask, in your statement, you mentioned about real estate. Were there any real estate for the former president?
Yes, the May 2017 order, High Court order, Annex 1, there's a lot of, I believe the General Commission mentioned here 200, 300 properties. So the High Court orders listed all the properties. But there were only a few in our custody. From what I recall, most of the properties were under the Registrar General. So we requested for the leases, especially those on the Canalai farms, because as a receiver we have some legal link to that, but we could not get the leases. We ended up with about 3 leases for Dunes, I believe Fishery Building and Womi Limited. We couldn't get most of the leases.
Why?
Well, we requested from the Registrar General, but I'm not sure whether he had it in file or
you requested in writing?
Yes, in writing, and there were follow-up letters to that effect.
And then no response?
Well, there was a meeting where the Registrar General provided 1 or 2 leases, but there was no supporting cover letter.
Did you submit those copies of those letters? Did you submit them to the Commission, to the legal team?
The leases.
The letters that we are writing to the Registrar Office?
No, it was not requested by the commission.
No.
Because those leases were tied more to the High Court order.
No, I'm referring to the legal committee here. Did you submit it to them?
No, not yet. But we told them this week we're sending more correspondences because we are still extracting and compiling.
Yeah, I would have loved for us to.
No, but it's in file.
It's in file.
I can confirm. The letters to companies registrar and register general is in file, and it will be part of the documents we're sending this week. But we did follow up on the properties, but we could not get much.
You could not get them.
Yeah.
Mr. Prom, you made mention of assets stolen. We were asked to fast track because some of the assets were stolen.
Yes.
Have you come across any asset that was stolen that you came across to?
Stolen? No. I remember in the beginning the word was we have to move fast because the former president is not here. People are really taking assets. There was an attempted break-in at the warehouse at the airport that had the equipment of Westport and MCG. No, not we did. I can't recall coming across stolen assets.
There was no asset stolen.
Not to my knowledge. But any assets that were companies, we went for example, we went for it. Like there was a BMW that was in Dakar. It was on the BPI tourism, and we sent hotel staff and a mechanic to come to extract it, and they brought it back to the hotel. So wherever we had indication of assets belonging to the company, we went for it. We pursued it.
So that asset in Dakar was under whose custody?
It was BPI tourism, the hotels. It was a luxury BMW for the VIP guests.
Who took it to Dakar?
It was having mechanical issues. So, but before we took over, we found that it was at Dakar, but it was there for a while. So we request, and I think Carrefour mechanic or company limited, but they couldn't sort out the issue. So we requested, I think it was towed back or driven back, but it was parked at the hotel afterwards.
So the car was brought back to the Gambia?
Yeah, it was left at the hotel. But it was not used because mechanically it had electronic issues and it would have been too expensive to repair. But it was a BMW 7 Series.
Mr. Prom, with regards to the claims,
yes,
there were people claiming, and then based on this page number 7, companies and individuals.
Yes.
Were there any payment issue to any of these one people who are claiming?
Payment from the receivership?
Yes.
Not that I recall. Especially the litigations, no.
During your term, there was no payment?
I do not recall making any payments, unless it was like a supplier or what we call current payables, utilities, taxes. That's what we focused on. But I don't recall, for these claims, it was strictly at the High Court. I don't recall making any settlement from our side. But our lawyer was defending. I think 1 or 2 we won and then ended up at the Court of Appeal.
Mr. Prom, coming to Dunes Resto,
yes,
you will mention that there were some offers from different parties.
Yes, there were 3 to 4.
620, the smallest was about $400,000.
Yes, 428 or something like that.
$428,000.
Yes.
And then you end up giving it out to the ministry.
Subleased.
Sublease.
Yeah, it was
to an amount of 1.5 million.
Yes.
Have you ever received any payment from them?
No. I believe when we were concluding, it was our final letters to the AG in terms of pending matters, staff, litigation, transfer modalities. I believe it was mentioned, but from our records, I don't recall it being paid.
There was no payment from them?
No, I don't recall it being paid, yes.
Was it more profitable to sell than to maintain the premises?
Well, it depends. Our mandate was not to sell.
Yes.
So, the government wanted it for the TRRC, which was an important national matter. So that's why the offers that came in to buy, we told them it's not for sale. But even before you sell, you have to do a valuation. They're offering 600,000. Before, in the event we were instructed to sell based on solid legal grounds, we would have had to value it. Maybe we would have brought in Spinks and Francis Jones example, one of the major quantity surveyors, to do a valuation, then we compare the two and then take the average. That's what we normally do. But the mandate was not to sell. And TRRC being an important matter, we felt that's why we gave it priority.
We'll go to the court order on the MOJ 5.
Yes.
On number 9, you were asked to sell. To sell properties including stocks and what? Bonds.
Yes.
Was it your money to sell? And then I think you also made some auction.
Oh, The High Court order was referring to stocks and bonds and perishables.
Yes.
Properties that are rapidly losing value.
Okay.
But normally, land and building, they tend to appreciate.
Yeah.
So that clause will not have covered land and building. And even if it did, I don't see us, we were not going to sell. Our objective was not to sell, was to temporarily manage 6 months and hand over.
On the same dose, Mr. Prom, if
Yes.
you, I mean, on volume 2,
Yes,
when it comes to the issue of renovation,
yes,
you had 3 contractors.
yes. We contracted about 5, 3 responded.
3 responded.
Yes.
How did you contacted them? Did you send them a BOQ or you just call them to come and assess?
I believe there were emails to that effect. I'll have to make reference to file. But we made effort to contact at least 5 notable contractors. And then, the receivership is not bound by the GDP Act. But of course, we have to make comparisons.
Was there any bill of quantity to guide those contractors to price?
Well, there were terms of reference. They came, inspected, and then they submitted their proposals.
But there was no BOQ.
I believe the proposals should have had bill of quantities.
Okay, looking at the 3 contractors, you had one waste bidder, that Wellingara construction.
Yes, about
2 million for 2.5.
Yes.
Did you invite him to negotiate the price with him, then go in for 18.2 and 18.243?
No, because we didn't do negotiations. We just collected bids, sent it to the AG, and then AG did the negotiations and final decisions.
AG did the negotiation. So
Yes.
let's send the whole list to the AG.
Yes, we just did the bidding process and submitted it for him to decide, because he was funding the renovation.
Mr. Prom, in your own case, when you were living, were there any outstanding monies owed to you by the commission?
Yes, there was the issue of the BPI tourism matter, but there were a few months outstanding. We took it to the former AG, but he knew the rate was 10%. He was not pleased with us, so he was not responding. So we didn't get any feedback from him regarding the outstanding fees, because the commission was concluding, so they gave the AG the mandate to finalize fee matters, but he wasn't responding to us on our letters.
What do you mean?
Even after we offered to for a discount and just conclude the matter, but he was more interested in us handing over and concluding.
There was a response that you sent to them based on the RS1, or is it number 19?
Okay.
The one you were referring to on the paragraph B. Paragraph B, the one you sent to the AG. With them, you are referring to their letter.
Okay.
That they should give a detailed description of the service performed, which was indicated by you. You did give them this response. Did they respond back to you?
Sorry, could you? What?
Yeah. Can you show him this? Yes, down. The whole this thing.
Detailed description of services performed. Yes. If you look, there's the BPI tourism report, and our correspondences with the commission at that time regarding fee matters. AG was copied, but he was not responding, and we tried to meet with him. We had a final meeting with him. It was a bit cold. He was not happy, but he didn't even discuss the fee matter. But we did give not just the list of sales, but also the accomplishments. Basically, all the details of the hotels was with AG and the commission. But he was not responding.
So, Mr. Prom, it's like you are happy with the whole transaction. You were being owed, you were not paid. Later on, you take the intention of resigning or even leaving the position whilst they were owing you. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, because at that time, the way they were dealing with it was not fair, it was not professional. We were frustrated. they didn't, what we call, intend to negotiate. They didn't seem to have intent to negotiate. So we didn't see a fair or successful conclusion with the Jammeh Commission. And then when we took the matter to the AG, the correspondence to the effect, he didn't respond.
And what triggers that?
Well, at that time, the AG was not happy with us because of the hotel matter. We couldn't transfer the hotels to Social Security. And he knew the rate was 10%, but he just kept himself out of it.
So it was the hotel that was not transferred, and then the same Social Security also was represented by whose firm?
Social Security initially was represented by Ami Bansura. But then after Abdullah Sissoko took over.
Yeah, before Abdullah taking over.
Yes.
He took over the responsibility from the farm.
Yes.
You were receiving correspondence, as you mentioned.
From Social Security, copying the lawyer,
Yes.
Ami Bansura.
Yes.
Yes.
When she was still the legal counsel.
Well, her firm, yes.
When she was still the legal counsel.
Yes.
And then from there, this issue came up. When we were asked to transfer to Social Security, we refused to, and then we started getting from nowhere.
I cannot put a finger on it, but the timing was suspicious. So there's a possibility, maybe because of the hotel issue, they came back to get us regarding the technicalities of the hotel fees, but they didn't have solid legal grounds.
So the company have been owed and were not paid.
Well, yeah, the AG was not responding. Jammeh Commission concluded. So, basically, the way it was done, it was not fair.
And you have been owed, you are still owed.
No, we are not owed. It was settled after.
All the months are paid.
It was settled afterwards, yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Very quickly, because many of my questions have been. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Prom. Mr. Prom, you mentioned that a total consolidated debt and claims
Yes.
amounting to $933.5 million.
Yes.
So I was wondering how much of this amount have you been able to settle?
I believe that was the amount when we were concluding. So these are debts that were taken over by I believe that's voluntary report, right?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Yeah, voluntary was our handing over state. So those debts were transferred to the new receiver trustee.
Okay.
For example, KGI had about 50 million for which we tried to pursue with our lawyer, but debtors were not responding.
Yeah.
But even the former president set up a task force for KGI debtors, for rice, flour. KGI was selling a lot of commodities.
Yeah.
But from what I was informed by staff at KGI, even that didn't have much success. So, taking into account the political context of Gambia at that time, debtors were not ready to I believe some made payments, but it was very minor. And it would have taken a long time to get, and 50 million is a lot of money. If there was an option to claim it back, we would have definitely taken steps to. So, but all those debts, 933 million, almost $1 billion, was transferred when we were handing over. So its final status, I cannot discuss on.
Okay. You were talking about orders coming from the High Court.
Yes.
And orders coming from the Commission as well.
Yes.
So these orders coming from the High Court and the Commission, were they complementary or were they contradictory?
Well, it was not complementary, neither contradictory.
Okay.
Because the 17 companies on the High Court orders were different from the 3 companies on the Jammeh Commission. But for example, Westwood on the High Court is connected to BPI Tourism. So, because they're under the BPI group. Westport is also on the BPI, that's connected to Westwood. So you had Westwood on the High Court, BPI and Westport on the Jammeh Commission orders. So.
Okay. Yes, you were also saying that the High Court order gave AP,
yes,
the authority to sell stocks and bonds.
Yes.
But in addition, you were also saying that that was not applied by the AP. Why?
Well, our focus was to manage, not sell. Our position was the selling should come after.
Okay.
Because everything was based on the Jammeh Commission concluding, and then the basis of that will be used to justify the sale or, take further legal procedures. But we had the legal authority to sell stocks and bonds, but we didn't because our focus was management, and also it gave us powers to sell assets that are depreciating quickly. But the only sales we were involved was Dune's auction, the furniture. But we didn't. I believe KGI was left with $4.7 million in GT Bank stock.
So you just forgo the order from the High Court?
As in we ignored it, or we didn't apply it, or?
Well, you said it's not applied, so...
Well, yeah, we didn't apply it because our intention was not to sell. We could have, but we avoided selling the shares, so we left it where it was.
Okay. Okay, in addition, you also said BPI tourism receivership fee matter, where you said AG, MOG did not respond in writing.
Yes.
On these matters.
Yes.
And AG, MOG was not pleased with the receivership.
Yes.
For not transferring the BPI tourism hotels to interested parties. I just want you to do a simple explanation on that.
Yes, Social Security had new offers.
Yeah.
Going up to €500,000 from tour operators or new tourism companies.
Okay.
So they wanted to cancel the lease, and the Romanians took it to the High Court. So as a result, the lease was tied down or frozen.
Yeah.
So and then after we came in as receiver on the BPI Tourism Jammeh Commission, so that's an additional freeze. And then there was a management contract. So there were three legal barriers that were stopping us from releasing the hotels, whether a lease or management contract. The former AG wanted the hotels to be transferred to Social Security so that the new parties would have access to manage the hotels, but legally we couldn't. So as a result, he was not pleased. And towards the end, he was not responding on transfer matters, staff litigations. He was more focused on the basis of your receivership. The High Court has expired.
Yeah.
Now, it was our mandate. Now it's time to transfer. Basically, the assets were transferred to the AG, not even, because the handing over notes was with the AG.
Okay.
Final inventory was with the AG. The only transfer we did to the receiver trustee was the funds, 1.48 million, from the remaining funds in the bank accounts. So, but in the end, he was not responding. Last meeting, he was a bit harsh.
Okay.
I remember my father being an elder, putting him in his place, and he kept quiet. Bingo was there, he was concerned, So, but we just kept the professional, counted his points, and that's why we concluded with him. But I mean, like we said, we gave him an air, we were fair, but we couldn't allow him to put us in a situation where we do something illegal and damage ourselves. But if there was an option to transfer with that pressure at that time, well, it seems like the whole government wanted you to transfer the hotels. If there was an option, a safe one, we would have done it. Mm-hmm. It came to the point we were thinking of resigning because, it was just too much.
Yes, Mr. Prom, you also talk about your mandate.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, because it looks like there is a contention as to whether your mandate is to pay arrears. Is that really part of your mandate to pay arrears? Because these people have taken loan a long time ago, and now they waited until your receivership and they started claiming.
Yes.
And you want to take that responsibility to be your role to pay those debts. How would you function?
Well, if the claim was fair and there was funding to settle it, for example, taxes, NOEC, we would have. But the companies at that time were not in a strong financial footing. And the litigations that came against the receiver, we defended it at the High Court. But in our opinion, because the High Court had already frozen those properties, those claims should have waited until the process had concluded.
Exactly.
But they didn't want to wait. So because the former president was gone, it was now an advantage to try to get it back from the receiver. And because we put up a defense, I guess safe to say some parties didn't like that. But that was the right decision. Otherwise, by now, we would have been negligent for billions of dollars, and who's going to help us? Mm-hmm. No one.
Yeah, finally, I want to know, you said you sold the furniture.
Yes.
Of your hotel.
Yes, Dunes Resort, yes.
I'm just wondering why you did that. You don't sell the hotel, but you sell the furniture. Why did you do that?
You know, hotel starting point, it was on the receivership, September 2017.
Yes.
We had offers to sell, but we told them, we had offers that wanted to buy, but we told them it's not for sale. Then the former AG came and mentioned they needed for the TRRC. Being an important national matter, we gave that priority. So eventually the hotel was transferred to the former AG to renovate for the TRRC, and then after there was a order from the Jammeh Commission to sell the used furniture and furnishings.
It's an order.
It was an order. It was based on an order, and we had 14 days to comply, so there was not much time. But they didn't say why, but I believe the reason being that TRRC was going to buy new furniture, so they didn't need the furniture. And you know, we also took into account certain legislation, such as if the asset is losing value, and to be honest, the condition of those furniture, the mattresses, you know, it was best to sell it, because if you wanted to keep it for another year, the value it would have further deteriorated. So, but there was legal basis to sell that used furniture at that time, but not the resort. The resort was subleased for the TRRC.
Yeah, but I'll have to come back to this thing quickly. Mentioned by my colleague, these three companies, Social Security giving loan to these companies, these three issues. You have the lead counsel being the counsel for these three companies.
Well, her firm.
Yes, yes. And then is the lead counsel during the commission hearings insisting that you settle the Social Security and feature leg?
No.
Did that surface?
No, that did not surface. You know, her firm
no pressure of that sort.
No. You know, our firm had other lawyers, so it was the other lawyers that were engaging the Social Security aspect.
Yeah.
But it was under her firm. Okay. But whether there was a direct request from her to settle, no. In terms of Social Security, no.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prom, for assisting this special committee. Mine will be really very short because my colleagues have actually asked most of the questions. Now, I read here that you did engage Mustafa Job as an auctioneer to assist you when you're auctioning these items.
Yes.
Now, is Mustafa a licensed auctioneer?
I believe he is. We had a contract with him. There was a signed contract. But yes, I believe he is a licensed auctioneer. I'll have to check the files, but he's one of the most popular auctioneers in Gambia.
Yes, I know. I think somebody has also mentioned the same thing, that he is one of the most experienced. But the issue is whether is he a licensed auctioneer?
I will have to make reference to file. But I believe we requested his CV and other documents and TIN before we drafted the contract.
Yes.
But I can't recall a specific license, to be honest, but I can make reference to file and get back to you on that.
Okay. Yeah. Are you familiar with auctioning laws in the Gambia?
I can't make reference to any specific one.
Like there's only one that's called the Auctions Act.
Yes.
1901, which was last amended in 1975.
Yes.
And it gives a legal framework on which auctions actually are done in the Gambia. Are you familiar with them?
Yes, we heard of the act, yes.
You are aware of the act?
Yes.
Now, would you be willing to provide us with also the license that was maybe issued by Mustafa during the process, because he's required to have a license?
Yes, I understand.
Yeah,
I believe he was licensed. I'll check the files and send it to you. Yes, but I believe he was licensed, yes.
Okay, that's fine. That's all I have,
yes.
Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Prom. Quickly, Council, do you have any more clarification before we adjourn for today?
Council is done.
Yes, please. Just a couple of questions, and I will check. I know it's been a long day, but this is going to be very quick.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes. So, Mr. Prom.
Yes.
In June 2019,
yes,
Counsel Jibril Bar filed a motion at the High Court seeking for the release of Augustus Prom firm as a receiver for the 17 companies.
Yes.
Ordinarily, shouldn't the AG be the one to file that, considering it's the AG that made an application to the court requesting for the court to appoint AP as receiver for these 17 companies?
You mean file for exit?
Yes, the exit.
Well, that one is a very technical question, I believe. He could file, but he'll have to justify it. For example, using the Jammeh Commission conclusion and also, well, give a basis. But at that point, we didn't need to wait for the AG, because when we were handing over, we were writing to him about transfer process, litigation, staff, assets, and he wasn't responding. So we just told him, okay, we're going to file our final ex parte motion, give you a final report, and since the High Court order has expired on 17 June, which is the basis of our appointment, we didn't have any more legal basis to continue, and the Jammeh Commission had concluded. So, but in terms of his responsibility, you also take into account that the respondent was not filing or doing a counter defense. So that gave AG more legal leverage. But as far as we're concerned, the basis of our appointment expired on 17 June. So that means we have no legal grounds to hold on to assets or any companies at that time. And at that time, considering we were planning to resign in early to mid 2019, we were ready to go. So we just filed at the High Court, filed for release, submitted our report, took our final fees, and handed over to the former AG and his new receiver trustee.
All right, and this new receiver trustee was Alpha Capital.
Yes, based on the letter we received. No, it didn't mention Alpha Capital. It mentioned new receiver trustee, Mr. Alpha Barry.
Alpha Barry.
But that letter did not mention Alpha Capital.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that is clear. You've earlier mentioned just now that the respondent, and in this matter it was the former president, did not respond to any of the court proceedings, any of the processes filed in the court.
During the 2 years, yes.
Yes, during the 2 years. But in handling these 17 companies,
yes.
20 companies actually.
20, yes.
These 20 companies, did at any point in time, did anybody reach out on behalf of the former president to make a claim on any of these properties or assets?
Surprisingly, no, because the case is between the former AG and the former AG and the former president. So we were anticipating some sort of a legal fight or claim from the former president on these assets, but that didn't take place. So that gave the AG more legal leverage. So, but what we did to enhance transparency, just to what we call give them a window, the senior managers we found on the ground at KGI Abattoir, we gave them access to see the financials or be part of the financial management process. So they were still signing checks, but as a level B signatory. The receiver will authorize, but they will sign. For example, at the abattoir, you had Mr. Sane, KGI, you had Wuri. They were still maintained as some sort of a counter signatory, and they had access to the financials just to enhance the level of transparency. For the other side, that is the respondent. But there was no defense, surprisingly, during the 2 years we were managing this company. So that gave the respondent, the former AG, a lot of legal leverage.
Very well, and I'm getting to my last point.
Yeah.
Last week, the former Registrar General, or the Registrar General at the time the commission was being established, Mr. Alu Jallo, testified and gave some evidence to this committee.
Yes.
And he mentioned two things. He mentioned, the first one would be bank accounts. He mentioned that after the High Court froze bank accounts of these companies that were placed in the custody and control of Augustus Prom, the president's own personal bank accounts were also placed under the control of Augustus Prom.
That's not accurate.
That's not accurate.
From what
if you can take a look at MOJ 5A in the
volume 1, or
No, not the reports you've submitted. Secretariat would guide you to it. There's a list of bank accounts, and there are some that, about 5, if I'm not wrong, are personal to the former president. Might be an extra one, if I'm not wrong. There's like a table at the top of.
You mean the first High Court order?
Yes, the first High Court order.
Yeah, but from what I recall, the only bank accounts we had access to were that of the companies, but not the personal accounts.
Not the personal accounts of the former president?
No, not the personal accounts.
At all?
Not that I recall, no.
All right,
no.
that's very
We
clear.
didn't have access to the personal accounts. That was not part of the companies.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and the last point, the former Registrar General, Mr. Ali Jallo again, mentioned that Augustus Prom was also in custody and control of assets he called commercial assets. And here he was very specific and mentioned tractors. Was at any point in time in any of the 20 companies that AP had custody and control of, did AP were tractors part of the assets of these 20 companies?
No, that's not accurate. The only tractors that I believe there were 2 at abattoir. One was broken, the other one was in bad shape, but it was being repaired.
Okay.
KGI had tractor spare parts.
Spare parts?
Yes, that was at the maintenance warehouse in Kotu. But the sales were going down, but there were no actual tractors under our custody. I only recall 2 at the abattoir, and one was broken. But there were some spare parts at KGI. But I recall access was difficult because the stores were under maintenance services. So, but there were few spare parts, tractor spare parts at KGI. But sales, at some point, the sales of the spare parts stopped. Clients were not coming in to buy. But KGI was selling spare parts. But I don't recall coming across tractors at KGI.
And when you mention a warehouse in Kotu, are you referring to the maintenance service agency?
Yes, we went there.
Okay.
But I remember the store, there were different parts. It was difficult to segregate what belongs to what. But I know KGI was selling tractor spare parts, but we didn't come across any actual tractors in inventory.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was KGI selling tractors during these 2 years?
No.
Okay.
Just spare parts.
Sorry,
and sales was minimal.
Spare parts?
Yes.
All right. And the proceeds from these sales, who was controlling them?
I think it was about 24,000 for 1 year. You'll see it in the KGI reports.
Okay.
But for KGI had bank accounts, so all the proceeds were going to their bank accounts at, I believe, First Bank International, because we minimized cash transactions. But I recall they were selling tractor spare parts, but the sales activity was very minimal.
All right. Thank you very much. That's all, Honorable Chair.
All right, thank you so much, Council. It's been a long day. Now we have come to a conclusion. Mr. Prom, thank you so much. It's good to have you. For now, we'll release you, but I'm sure when you're needed again, I will call you. But don't forget about you. I think you've taken note of the documents that you're supposed to provide for us.
I've written it down.
Please do us a favor and get us those documents by Friday if you can, okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Honorable Chair. If the witness has any closing remarks or just anything else he wants to say, I think this is a good point
Very well.
for him to do that.
Very well, very well. Let's accept it. Yes, Mr. Prom, do you have anything to say before we close?
Well, for us, our main, it was important I testified to clarify our role and also defend our reputation, because our main focus was on the management of the assets, which we did successfully and we handed over. And all the sales we involved was for the Dunes Used Furniture, and that was, I believe, done in a transparent process and advertised and reported, and final proceeds were transferred. So I can't think of any, I think most matters have been discussed, but I think, in my statement, I think there's a need for some sort of a Sovereign Wealth Fund Act, so the proceeds, or what we call windfall proceeds of the government, could be invested to build wealth for the nation instead of relying on endless loans and grants. That's something to consider. But I think we discussed a lot of matters. We had a whole day. So, but as far as I'm concerned, I think we were transparent and we were careful as well. That's why we had issues, as you could see, towards the end regarding the hotels and fees. But we made, I think, the best decisions for those companies. And then we handed over in June 2019 and left it to the former AG and his team to continue.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, your release for today, honorable colleagues. I think we'll be closing for today and we'll adjourn meeting till tomorrow, Tuesday. They are not taking minutes now until tomorrow 40 minutes. Then we will look at it. That's why I am going to close. Tomorrow we did it all. Thank you. So we will adjourn for today until tomorrow, Tuesday, on the 5th of August, 2025 for continuation. All right. Members, you can stay for debriefing.
Yeah.